Hello and welcome to Giant Slayer's Fight Night Legends presented by Wisdom. I'm your host Casanova, and joining me as always is the Blevins. Blev, we got another amazing night of LoR to go into, but how are you feeling before we kick things off?
I'm feeling pretty great about LoR in general right now. I think there's this might be the wildest of West we've ever had in terms of like deck viability and decks that are being played right now on ladder. Can't really say as much. I can't really say that as much about the decks that were brought tonight, though it's still quite diverse overall.
Yeah, it still looks pretty exciting. We've got some definite decks to look forward to, but before we get too deep into everything, Blev, why don't you go ahead and break down the format for those who are maybe joining us here for the very first time?
Absolutely. We've got, of course, our double elim bracket with 8 invited players. Every single match is going to be a best of 3 where players have brought 2 decks with no region overlap, so a little bit different than the traditional Riot Lock format that you might be familiar with from the seasonal. But to win a match, the goal is still the same. You need to win with both of your decks, and the players are, of course, playing for their share of that $200 prize pool this week. Casa, let's take a look at those players that we've got playing tonight.
Yeah, let us take a look over at the bracket, get a chance to see who we've invited this time around. We got L Games joining us once again after winning last week, going up against Tenchu. And we have Oscillate and Tenerex and What Am I versus Ferreria. And then we have Menasia versus Mach Speed Milk. A little battle between the Wombats there at the bottom. And in fact, Blev, that will be our featured matchup today.
Yeah. I mean, Casa, it's staring at you right in the face. When 2 Wombats are fighting, it, of course, is Mortal Wombat. And that is what we're going to be featuring here. There we see Menasia, 17. Who I remember being 17 back in 1903. At least that's what chat thinks. Of course, already in Masters top 100. Quite nice there. And brought one of the arguably spiciest decks on the night in the Lulu Jinx, which we'll be talking about in just a second here, Casa.
Yeah, really excited to see Menasia playing that. Menasia also brought one of the new champions, brought Viego. Excited to see how Viego plays out, kind of replacing Thresh in a lot of the Nasus decks. We do have Viego Nasus from Menasia as the second deck, and I've been fairly impressed by Viego. Actually saw Alan take Viego all the way to rank 1 on EU, but his opponent, Milk, the possum that we always see around, gonna be playing what I would consider a little bit more standard, playing kind of a double mid-range lineup, going with Shen, Jarvan, and Ashe LeBlanc Sejuani. And in fact, it's more of an Ashe Sejuani. There's just a single LeBlanc in there. It's Frostbite mid-range, right? Just tried and true, something we've seen forever. One of the interesting things about Shen J4 is we've seen a lot of the players that are bringing it have updated it to include Scattered Pod, which has been a pretty solid addition to a couple decks. In fact, we've seen it with some Go Hard lists. We've seen it with, well, just kind of any Karma list, really. And then now we're seeing it in Shen Jarvan, which makes sense. It kind of goes hand in hand with that River Shaper, which is trying to continue to draw your combat tricks out of the deck.
Yeah, and it does something that River Shaper doesn't, which is actually provide a threat late game, right? I mean, you forget that. I mean, everyone's talking about the the ability to draw a card, but that's a 5/5 elusive once you've hit Enlightened in the late game, which certainly is not an angle that you're used to defending when you're playing against a Shen Fiora type of build, Shen J4, what have you. Definitely gives you an additional angle to attack from. We see that matchup or decks facing that matchup tend to get in these very board stall heavy games where it's just like, well, there's a bunch of units on both sides. There's a lot of barrier involved and nothing's getting through. Well, the Scattered Pod going to be able to potentially attack through later in the game, and that's after it's already drawn you a card.
Yeah, I mean, once it's Enlightened, you have that 5 damage on big elusive body. You have rallies with Golden Aegis, so you can even set up some big elusive attacking turns if they don't have the ability to stop an elusive. I mean, it just is a fantastic card in this deck. It replaces itself, but it's also a good body in itself because it's 6 mana, but it has a tune, so it's kind of like a 5 mana 5/6.
Yeah.
And then if you're enlightened, it becomes elusive. So really just a phenomenal card, really, really solid, and it does fit right in. I look forward to see how Scattered Pod continues to affect the metagame, because I think it is the type of card that can affect the metagame in the sense that it is good enough to fit in multiple different decks and potentially bring decks that we haven't seen for a little bit back into the fold. I think Go Hard is the biggest example that I've started to see of that. And I wonder if we will see like a full resurgence of Go Hard due to Scattered Pod being able to help pull those out of the deck, because you can run it as like the only slow speed spell or alongside like a one of Ruination, making you like guaranteed to pull it. You could try and find some other different interesting ways to play it too. I imagine. I definitely like Scattered Pod a lot.
Yeah, it is a card similar to Zap Sprayfin, where you can build your deck in a way that you can guarantee the cards that it draws. And effectively, if you're coming from Magic or other games, that's known as a tutor. And I think very specifically, Legends of Runeterra has not put in strict tutors. It's, draw
just the boats.
Card. Yeah, either modes or like draw a card that meets these conditions, and it's a random card amongst the cards that meet those conditions, or generates a random card or something else. There are a few, Zap Strafe this one included. I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but
just
where you
can
boats,
right, just pulling
the boats, right? Well, the boats draw a very specific only one card, but it can draw you exactly a card that you put in your deck that's not pre-described to you, right? You can make it so that you always draw Go Hard, or that you always draw Deny, or always draw this, that, or the other, depending on how you build your deck. And I think that effect is one that's quite strong now and will only grow in power as more cards come out.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think that's why, Scattered Pod is something that I expect to, even if it doesn't immediately hit the meta, which, I mean, it somewhat has, right? It's being played in Shen J4. But even if it doesn't immediately impact the meta, I think it's something that we will see pop up over time. It will continue to pop up because it's such a powerful effect on a good body. It's not even like you're paying a big cost to have to play that card. Like it's just a good unit already. And then it has so many deck building implications. It will be very cool to see. But we do have the game kicking off straight away. Milk going up against Manesia. It is going to be Viego Nasus going up against Shen J4. Both players pretty content to just pass and emote each other for the most part. You get to turn 3, so this is the first turn that you tend to see these Demacia Ionia decks actually playing anything out. Gonna get a champion drawn from Manesia, break open the the Russian stacking doll, and there we got a Laurent Protégé coming down.
Man, Cass, I remember back in the day when that was a 4/4.
Yeah. Sure was, wasn't it?
Yeah, even if it was a 4/3 right here, I mean, just think of how different that is and how broken it once was. But that of course was back in the day when we had old Badger Bear, old Bertram. I mean, creatures or units were stronger back in those days. But either way,
units were much stronger.
Well, maybe not, because we see Merciless Hunter, the epitome of pushed units. So. Either way, Mach Speed Milk, unfortunately, on the wrong side of those trades, but does get to throw out a Shen. Yeah, Manesia just sitting back with Ruined Karma, eating the popcorn as we're getting 4 power the deck starting off here with Manesia.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty tough for Milk. At least Shen is tanky enough that he's not going to go down immediately to 4 power. He's got that nice 5 toughness sticking back there. Not going to let anybody just take him down for free. But Manesia could just try and push 8 damage by pulling the Shen to the side, or can continue to develop. We know that Manesia drew a champion, so there could be a Viego available for this turn, even if Manesia wanted to go that route. Also, potential that he drew Nasus and doesn't actually have the Viego, and we will see one of the new cards, the Camavorian Soldier, come down to start stacking up those encroaching mists.
Yeah, and boy, has that card really shined. I mean, that is just exactly what this type of deck wants. It fits the curve in a nice spot. I mean, granted, with Merciless Hunter, the 3 spot is It definitely has units there, but this one really works out. And one thing that a lot of other cards that generate similar, that have similar effects, the encroaching mist can block. And anyone who's played on the ladder the last couple of days knows that all too well, especially if you've been playing an aggro deck. Casanova Soldier really does it all. It pumps your Viego, it pumps your mist. You can use it on offense, but you can also just straight up block with it as well. It's just so good.
Yeah, you use it to fade an attack. You use it to summon a 3/3 or a 3/2 with Butcher, or to use a Rite of Calling, use a Rite of Negation. You have so many different options for this miss, or just attack if it's buffed up in the late game, right? Because it scales. So it's just such an incredible card. Great addition to Shadow Isles. It's probably going to push some cards that we're starting to see less of out. It can definitely take a very good slot in any of these Shadow Isles decks that relies on sacrifices. But also, just as you mentioned, it's good in decks that don't rely on sacrifices also. So it's just good. Just strictly a very good card.
Yeah, and Mach Speed Milk may be getting banned by me right now because I'm not understanding the attack and take it back and then not attack. Okay, and then just pass the turn. I like it. Okay.
All right, Amnesia has the third one.
About another.
Has the 3 of a kind. It's like Mach Speed, you were having a good time dealing with these Merciless Hunters. How about another one? How about another one? Full sweep.
Casanova as well, which just to keep adding on to that card's value. It's good if you draw a lot of them. It's fine if you just draw the one. It's fine if you have Viego. It's fine if you don't have Viego. I mean, it's just such a good card.
Yeah, really, really fantastic. And the Merciless Hunting Party is really making this difficult for Milk to actually get any leverage on the board. Doing their best with these barriers to try and at least hold on to some semblance of board control. And we do know that Milk has this Spirit's Refuge in hand, which as long as they can stay alive is going to be able to give a good amount of healing. It might actually help them stay alive. But unfortunately for Milk, it's going to have to be used most likely on a 3-power unit instead of this 5-power dragon in order to actually survive the attack. Maybe not actually. There is the ability to just block like this. You could try and save your Screeching Dragon with the Spirit's Refuge, and I don't think there's any threat of dying. I just want to check real quick to make sure that's correct. Yeah, Atrocity is the only thing that is dangerous, which is not going to be able to be played, so you can actually save your dragon here.
Yep, we can save the dragon. Shen already going to stay alive, and then actually going to level up as well. A lot of, this sort of alpha attack is coming at the cost of Manesia's board here. Going to be left with only a 3/3 and 3 cards in hand, one of which is guaranteed to be a champion, right? We haven't seen the Viego or the Nasus. We did see the earlier Rite of Calling. So, potentially, even though the life totals are quite varied right now, could potentially be a turning point for Mach Speed Milk.
Yeah, this can definitely be turned around. This is a good suite of spells alongside the attackers that Milk has. Could potentially have gone for the open attack there with the Shen in order to give more attack to the Protege to clear away the 3/3. But Milk was wanting to try and bait out the champion or just prevent Manesia from being able to play the champion with the ability to potentially challenge and actually take them down. Looks like it will just be Concerted Strike onto Viego. Viego coming down as a 5-mana 7/6 Fearsome. Quite powerful, but that will not be able to survive against a Concerted Strike. And Milk has the Deny backup to play around the Atrocity, which Manesia does have the mana for, but does not have the mana to back it up with a Rite of Negation or to defend it against Deny. So it would be a big risk to just slam down the Atrocity.
Yeah, I mean, Atrocity loses to Deny. It loses to the 2 single combats in hand. It would lose to another Concerted Strike. I mean, This, I think, honestly just shows Malaysia really in desperation mode because, you know, this is completely tapping out of their mana. You know, Mach Speed Milk's board very stable. A 3/3 can is going to pull the vulnerable Shen. I was going to say can be blocked by a 7/4 with Fury. So, but no, that makes sense. But that is a desperation play out of Malaysia. And I mean, maybe if there's a big Nasus or something, this could get back to parity potentially, but it's going to depend on how big the Nasus is because, you know, there's going to be a 7 power, actually a 10 power barriered unit potentially coming through. And
okay, Spirit Leech is a good start.
Yeah, absolutely
is very much a good start. It can actually help Malaysia find their way back into the game.
And now Mach Speed deciding do they value the Laurent Protege or the health on the Shen? Looks like they're actually valuing the health on the Shen more so. Okay, gonna swap those around. Just not too big of a difference, but want to guarantee to kill that 4/2. Yeah, Malaysia setting up a couple of 0/1s to start it off, and another Viego. Would help.
Another Viego means that there is potential to just go for another atrocity. There is one more. Rite of Calling is going to be answered by a single combat.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 of them, so Milk really just excited to be able to use one.
Right.
Rite of Negation just going to come out for that.
Yeah, desperation for Malaysia really needs to get an Nasus out and just hope that it can be big enough, perhaps level it up, or even draw another. If you drew another Viego, that would give you Viego's spell, which is Reverse Atrocity. No idea what the card's actual name is. That would be, of course, Viego's Despair. But even so, even the Despair is not even that good.
Okay, so no Nasus. And it's just going to be down to top decks at this point. Milk has more control over the board, but only has the single combat, which is not going to be the best card out there. It's not horrible. It is usable, especially with this dragon being so strong. But it's definitely not the best card to have available. We'll end up just using it to trade with Viego. Set up to just be a Shen on board alongside a Fleet Feather Tracker. And it's entirely down to top decks.
Yeah, I mean, it is, great draw.
That's a good one. River Shaper is fantastic.
Yep. Give Sleep Feather Tracker Challenger, of course, which is relevant. Also, just, when you're in a top deck war, drawing a card that draws you more cards, just great. And for all the praises I've sung of Casanova Soldier, it's just going to be stats here, which is going to be quite good. I mean, this still is going to be trading down quite a bit here. But Mach Speed Milk is going to be up an additional card in this top deck battle, which is just going to be massive.
Yeah, can kill Shen with the Encroaching Shadows at least, or the Encroaching Mist. But that would be about all. Milk might decide to try and hold on to this Shen and just wait out the Ephemeral, not to lose any resources just to an Ephemeral keyword that is going to disappear after this turn anyways. Play for a couple more passes, and then actually look to start swinging with the River Shaper. I think this is better. Don't lose your Shen to that. At least if you're going to lose your Shen, have it trade with the board. Jarvan, another great top deck. Milk hitting very high quality pulls each time. If that is a leveled Jarvan, which I think it should be at this point, that's going to be pretty crazy for Malaysia to have to try and deal with.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, just banger after banger. And even, I mean, Milk still has the opportunity to cash in this River Shaper for an additional card. Looks like instead going to just take the trade, take a little bit of damage here, and set up for a really good open attack. All right, this is exactly what Milk wanted. No development, so this open attack can just come in freely. Jarvan going to pull the Camevoran Soldier, and there is no good blocks on the side of Manasia here.
Yeah, he's not leveled yet, but he's just about to be, or at least he's going to be getting very close to leveling up. And once that Jarvan actually levels, the Cataclysms are going to make it almost impossible for Manasia to come back. And First Keeper is a really poor draw. Nasus, all three of them being in the bottom 20, rather brutal for this. And that Scattered Pod, banger after banger off the top for Milk.
Yeah.
That should just be able to close out the game very quickly. It's going to draw an additional card. It's going to be able to go over the top because it's already enlightened. We'll have Elusive. We'll see. It looks like a slow spell. Golden Aegis, perfect. You get the rally, get to attack in. You buff up the Scattered Pod with the barrier. That's just GG.
Yep. And there's an example right there. I believe I'm double checking. Yeah. Golden Aegis, the only slow spell in the deck. So you're you're at any point in time guaranteed to draw Golden Aegis with the Scattered Pod if you'd like. So really great, well played by Mach Speed Milk, able to take out.
Only exception is if this last card is Atrocity. And,
true, actually true.
The A-Bomb gets the win, but I think it's probably unlikely. However, this is the point in the game where Manasia would have to throw it out if he had it.
Right.
He did not. So he only had the one Atro remaining. He had already spent one.
Yeah.
And considering how the draws had been going for Manasia that game with no Nasus in the first 20, what are the odds he was going to have the best card for the situation at that point? It looked pretty brutal when we came down to top decks, but Milk playing that really well to hold on and just survive and get it to that stage of the game. Because once he got there, I mean, on average, I think the top decks are higher quality for Milk because he has so many ways to draw additional cards. But Manasia, of course, missing out on Nasus for that long was really tough. Also, missing out on Invasive Hydrovine. There were a couple different cards that could have been incredibly strong at that moment. And, 5 cards that would have been the best for the late game, all stuck in the bottom 18. Very tough. I think this deck normally should perform better than it did in that game. And I think that we'll continue to see Viego Nasus look better than it did in that one. I don't think it's necessarily supposed to always win that matchup, but I just think that Manasia, even with pretty low draw quality, almost was able to find that win. As he's gonna give us the Lulu Jinx. He's gonna give us the showcase. It is the deck we wanted to see. He knows what we want.
He knows what we wanted to see. We're gonna get it here. Mach Speed Milk, though, not, I think, getting what they want here as the old 8-drop, 5-drop. Not really the best start.
Oh, and there's picks. We're starting off hot for Manasia. Got the picks. We'll see if there's a 2-drop, a Young Witch. That's good enough, right? You just need something to give the support to from picks.
Yep.
Get in there for a pretty small attack right now, but those will start to get pretty terrifying as we continue to get through. Oh my god, this hand from Milk. All right, just go next, buddy. Just go next. It's doomed.
Not where you want to be when you've got you've got literally 0 plays that are even relevant. I mean, technically, the Troll Chant could have actually no. Troll Chant literally could not have been cast.
Yeah,
because you need to have your own target. Oh boy.
Oro Cannon. Couple Boros down, and then in a rough spot if you're Milk. This open attack's being set up. Potentially could even develop on turn 4 if there's been no plays. It's not like there's any development punishes. Suit up on picks. That's so good.
Yeah, Manesia keeps testing the water. What do you got? What do you got for me?
Oh, there's okay. I lied about no development punish. That is technically one with the Ice Veil Archer.
Not going for it though. Oh, maybe?
It almost feels like you should develop actually for Manesia, right? It feels like you should.
Yes. Well,
Ice Veil's pretty much the only punish that's really scary.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just like
there's
Milk
no
gets to block something,
right?
But that's not a huge deal. And now another Poro Cannon, so we'll get a couple more elusives coming down. Go nice and wide. Pix doesn't even die to the trade, so you can just use Pix at the far left.
Yep.
There's an argument, though, that because Pix is the only thing you can block, shouldn't you just buff Pix with the Young Witch and then buff one of the Poros with Pix so that if Milk tries to block, he actually just loses his Ice Veil for free? Isn't that just strictly better here?
I wouldn't say strictly better because it would essentially be it's one fewer
minus
damage.
One damage.
Yeah,
minus one damage to face.
And is this Ice Veil Archer body actually relevant right now? I mean, there's an argument that it isn't. I think that's at least the thought process for Milk. Whether that's correct or not, I'm not sure. I mean, we're at, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know if the clock is changed by that 1 damage, but it might be. How about Jinx?
Jinx is almost one of the last cards in the hand.
Classic.
Yeah, the 1 damage actually can matter, I think. Like, the more I'm thinking about it, because your Pix isn't dying. If your Pix was dying to the Ice Veil Archer on the trade, then I think that switching it to try and keep your Pix alive is worth it. But because your Pix isn't dying, it's probably just fine. Because you're going to get 1 more buff out of the Pix. So I have changed my mind, Blev. I have changed my mind. I think that it probably was correct to get that 1 extra damage for Manesia. And now, I mean, you just have Jinx probably going to be able to play out this hand and level Jinx on this turn, but you can also just go for the swing, threaten lethal. You're able to buff Jinx so that she can, attack through a Hearthguard. There is going to be this risky business going to be able to stop that at the very least, but yeah, I mean, Milk's still going to be very low. No healing in the deck. Manesia's got plenty of burn available in this list in general. At least, even if it's not exactly burn, just has the ability to flood the board and push damage.
Yeah,
there are still there's 3 get excited. It's not a ton of burn, but it's like it's still there.
Yeah,
and there's 1 of them. So
3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Are we exacties?
Yeah, we're there. It's exacties.
Yeah.
It can be stopped by the troll chant, so we'll be slowed down. But that is a level Jinx. Now, anytime Manesia top decks a Jinx, they get a rocket and get to end the game that way.
Yeah, the other interesting thing here is because of the nature of Manesia's build, there's still a very wide board, and there can be a pretty tall board on the side of Mach Speed Milk, but that doesn't really stop. That doesn't. Mach Speed is not going to be able to like push a potential lethal and force awkward blocks. Because you can throw away, a 1/1 Poro and block 5 damage and be pretty fine.
Yep, absolutely. You can just, if you really need to, you throw away one of the Poros. If not, even if Milk could get a wide board, Manesia's board's elusive, so it wouldn't even matter if the board could get wide enough for Milk. So yeah, I mean, just going tall, trying to get the damage in is really all you can do and force Manesia to throw away Poros, but Milk can't even force that on this turn. Milk can push 14, but Manesia theoretically can say okay and just let that hit himself in the face. There is not any direct damage in this deck, so any of this can just be taken if Manesia chooses to do so.
Yeah, and there's not even the threat of like playing LeBlanc and having a second LeBlanc to malice for 2, because there's only 1 LeBlanc in the deck.
Okay, well, the Incisive Tactician at least puts a little pressure on because it will rally. This is going to force Manesia to provide some blocks, but really only two blocks need to be used. You can let 1 hit through. There's no damage buffs either.
Yeah,
Oh, wait. Oh, never mind. Not enough mana. I was saying 3 Sisters actually could provide a damage buff, but there's not enough mana, so you can go ahead and just block 2 things.
Well, and interestingly here, with the Harsh Winds and Flash Freeze, Manasia's not going to be able to kill Mach Speed here. We may have spoken a little too soon here.
Yeah, gonna rely on a top deck. The Incisive Tactician actually coming in clutch. This is a card that was buffed fairly recently and seeing a lot of play because of it. I think it's a very strong card. No develop kind of leads me to believe, oh, okay, it's Lulu. If that open attack came through, I thought it was just to get excited in hand, and it was just going to be game that way, or a rummage, right? You could have really low rolled and hit a rummage, but Lulu shouldn't be able to do it. Milk's going to be able to hold on if this attack comes through. He's got the freezes, and that will force Manasia to throw away the rest of their board on the blocks. Gonna come down to the top deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great for Manasia here. No Reckoning is so nice.
2 teammates continuing to banter, not only in emotes, but in the chat as well. You can just put a body on a Lulu. There's a lot of freezes. Got to decide which emote is best before you freeze Manasia's board. Actually, only have to expend the Harsh Winds. Or just one freeze. Could be Troll Chant and Flash Freeze, because the Young Witch is not killing you.
Right.
And 1 is the same as 2 in this circumstance. All face damage things that Manasia have do between 3 and 4 damage.
True. I like this. This leaves you... well, you would have had mana for the Whispered Words regardless, but this leaves you mana for a Hearthguard, and now...
Oh, this is just guaranteed. There's nothing to stop this. And you can't play Get Excited with 1 card.
True.
Milk's just going to win.
Yeah.
Once again, Manasia can't find the top deck. Gets so close, but not enough. And Milk actually ends up taking this 2-0. We were pretty convinced that Manasia was just going to be able to find that win. It felt very good, even with the Jinx level up. But Milk was able to hold on. And just take a moment, chat, to remember what that opening hand looked like from Milk. And think about how many times you might just scoop that game. Because it was really bad. It was just 3 Hearthguards, a bunch of spells that aren't really fantastic in the matchup. And somehow Milk's able to just live on basically, 1 HP and end the game. Really came down to draw that Ice Veil Archer. It was the big difference maker. If Milk doesn't hit that Ice Veil off the top on that turn 4 where that attack came in, the game's just over. It just ends right there. And I think that was the only card that actually saved Milk. I think it had to be Ice Veil Archer in that spot, or that game was probably done.
Yeah, and also, Manasia had to play into that, right? I think there was potentially a little bit of damage missed by like getting greedy. Like it was potentially getting more damage in, but at the risk of losing damage, which ended up happening, which is not great. So, and even on that last turn, if instead of like, did the Lulu actually put up more damage in the face of things that you lose to anyway, like freezes? I don't think so. And if that last card, maybe Manasia will come in chat at some point. If that last card was Get Excited, boy, does playing that Lulu look bad.
Well, attacking with the Lulu looks bad, right? Well, also playing it, right?
Playing it because you need, you have discard fodder for Get Excited.
Yeah. Either way, it doesn't work because, the Lulu, if you hold it back, you might be able to do at least block with it, survive another turn, and then draw. But like you're saying, if you just don't even play the Lulu and you just draw the next turn, and you find that Get Excited, there you go. You would have had the game. So it's hard to say. Very close, but we are going to have a lot more matches to come. We will see if Manasia can find his way through the lower bracket with that spicy lineup. But for now, we are going to go to a short break. When we return, the winners semifinals of Fight Night Legends. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Giant Slayer's Fight Night Legends presented by Wisdom. We just saw Milk take down Manesia, the Battle of the Wombats, the what did you call it, Blev?
Mortal Wombat, of course.
Mortal Wombat, yeah, Mortal Wombat, the victor of Mortal Wombat. Fatality for Milk, because he does take out Manesia. But Manesia still has the loser's bracket to try and run it back through.
Yep.
And we do have L Games going up against Tenorx on the top side. That will be our featured matchup going into this next round.
Yeah, L Games, of course, our champion from last week, running some classic decks, I would say, at this point. One is absolutely a classic in the almost mono Demacia Bannerman Scouts, MF Quinn, Misfortune being the only Bilgewater card in the entire deck. We've got good old-fashioned Bannerman, Gassa.
Yeah, pretty much. Good old Bannerman. It's got the new Pendant Squire as well, which is going to help a little bit. A nice new 1-drop for Demacia. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's really, really old school, but it's got the suppressors, which were kind of a newish tech. I mean, it's not that new anymore. It's been around for quite a while that people have been playing the Stony suppressors to help out against these more spell-heavy deck lists. And alongside that, it's Teemo Ezreal. We always love casting that deck. It always makes for some good games, so I'm looking forward to that. But I want to talk about Tenorix as well, because he's running a deck that we haven't seen in quite some time.
Yeah.
And of course, there's some slight changes to it, but really, it's a blast from the past. Kind of looks like we're back, like, I don't know, almost a year ago, Blev. Maybe even more than a year ago. It's Kinku Elusives with Zed and Teemo. It's a PNZ version of Kinku Elusives, but Kinku Wayfinder bringing it back, trying to just pull out those Teemos, the Navori Blade Scouts, just try and get really aggressive, buff up the Green Glade duo, just burn you down with Elusives.
Yeah, this is a deck that I believe a couple of players have hit rank 1 this season with. It's one that I was playing a decent amount of on ladder before the newest expansion came out, and I mean, it's super strong, right? I mean, it's a classic, right? The Kinku Elusives were running obviously mostly Ionia, the normal casting crew that you'd be used to, and then the Silent Shadow Seer is one that maybe isn't always in every list, and then Yusari is a one of too. But really, the card I think that sparked at least the interest of the community back into aggressive Ionia is, of course, Twin Disciplines. 2 mana now. It's just a premium spell. Doesn't necessarily feel broken, but you really feel great playing Twin Disciplines now.
Yeah, I mean, Twin Disciplines used to be in every Ionia deck at 3 mana back forever ago, until a bunch of new cards were introduced that people were just like, well, it's a little better and we can kind of cut Twin Disciplines at this point.
Yeah.
But now that Twin Disciplines is down to a 2 mana combat trick that is that versatile, super good to have in. You can use it to save something. You can use it to go very aggressive.
Yep.
Both of which are very good for this deck. Being able to either save your elusive like a Green Glade duo, or to buff up one of your elusives with an additional 3 attack are so strong. So yeah, it makes sense that people would experiment with aggressive Ionia once again, and realizing that, hey, this deck is still pretty good. Still a very powerful list, but it does return the return of Allegiance, and being a deck that runs 8 copies of PNZ cards, we might see some whiffs. It is possible.
Boy, I've definitely whiffed with this deck, having played it, and now some of the other ones, like if you whiff a Bannerman, yes, it stinks, but you've at least got a 3/3. Boy, when you pay 4 mana for a 2/3. That's a top right concede for me. I don't want to. I don't want to be seen having played that card without hitting Allegiance. It very much stinks. But on the flip side, when you do hit that Allegiance, you're getting quite a bit of value out of that 4 mana package. I mean, the ability to have 2 Teemos in play can be very, very strong. And in a world obviously where Will of Ionia is now buffed, I mean, this is almost like a soft counter to that card if you're using that card defensively, because you're really spending a lot of mana to stop not that much, right? You're stopping a 2 attack or a 2 cost unit, and that's just not it's not a winning exchange for a lot of decks. And I think that this deck certainly preys on a lot of the decks that are relying on that.
So funny enough, Blev, this deck was meta back when I played tournaments instead of casting them. And I remember one of the last tournaments I played, I was playing this deck with the Noxus variant with Precious Pet and Brothers Bond.
Yes.
Right? Yep. I was playing that variant so that I could fit, I think so I could fit Freljord somewhere else, like playing Freljord Ezreal or something, right?
Yeah.
But so I had this deck. I played 2 Kinku Wayfinders and missed both after having Precious Pet in my opening hand, so I had basically no Noxus cards left in my deck.
Yeah.
Still hit Brothers Bond twice in a row, missed both, lost, and then immediately started casting. So, you can thank this deck for me being a caster.
Kinku Elusives holds a very special part.
Yeah, Kinku Elusives got me out of tournament play.
Yeah, and conversely for me, Kinku Elusives, well, not even necessarily the Kinku version, but the Elusives variant, sometimes Kinku, really, I think has gotten me to master multiple times. I know one time for certain was the Braum version, when Braum had one attack. Remember?
Yeah,
remember
that
those?
one was
remember those days?
That version was pretty strong. There's a reason
Yeah.
Braum got nerfed almost immediately.
Yeah, those are the bald eagle days. Which
oh, true.
oh boy,
it's been a minute since we've had a lot of those.
Yeah, you think back on some of these decks and you forget they existed. It's been so long.
Yeah, they're always the ones that are so dominant too. Bald Eagle was like 80% of the meta was Bald Eagle when it was around for a second. And then we don't see any Braum or Anivia anymore. And it was both of them in that deck.
0 copies of Braum or Anivia anywhere.
Yeah. Not even played whatsoever. But also 0 copies of Braum or Anivia in any of the decks we've got today. It's going to be Ash LeBlanc alongside this Teemo Zed. And then on the other side with L Games, I mentioned the Teemo Ezreal alongside Quinn Misfortune. So Scouts. But we got a lot of Teemo in this matchup between the two. Both sides rocking a Teemo in one of their deck lists. And we're going to see one of them in game number 1. It's going to be L Games playing Teemo Foundry, going up against Frostbite Midrange.
Yeah, these ones are always just so fun to watch. The Teemo Frostbite, because it's just like, every shroom feels like it hits so hard, especially in a matchup like this where there's no life gain on the opponent's side.
All right, Glory Seeker and Brittle Steel is the keep. A very solid keep in the matchup because Tenerex is just trying to set up the Glory Seeker to kill off any of the early threats like Teemo or Peddler, and wants to have the Brittle Steel to hold on to the Glory Seeker so that it can continue to find more trades. But a Mystic Shot from L Games is just going to be able to clear that away and open up a lot of safety for these Peddlers once they come down, but also triple Brittle Steel. Very powerful for these Puffcat Peddlers. A bunch of burst spells that can be used to protect them from the Glory Seekers. Not going to protect them from a Culling Strike, however, and that will just be a quick slam from Tenerex. You do not want to leave Puffcat Peddlers up and available on the board.
Yeah, they are definitely threatening a lot of Puffcaps for sure. And are we... okay, no, I was wondering if we were delayed, but no, there is a second Puffcat Peddler here, and this one, I don't think it might stick around for a little while longer, and as we can see, there are a lot of spells in L Game's hand right now.
Just going to go for the swing, gets rid of the Omen Hawk, and now we get a big ol' Hearthguard, going to buff up everything that Tenerex draws, having a lot of spells in hand, kind of beneficial at this point, because Hearthguard's going to buff up everything in the deck, and odds are that you're going to draw into some units very soon, especially with having so many of these spells in the early game. Is going to be a Troll Chant to try and save this Hearthguard, or at least the consideration. I guess the thought is, if you even Troll Chant this, you do have a Hearthguard left on only 1 health, which will die to just about everything, but looks like Tenerex decides that keeping the only unit that they have alive is worth it, even if it just results in L Games having to expend an additional resource.
Yeah, and I mean, rewarded immediately is now we're going to be drawing 2 cards instead of just the 1.
Oh my god.
The chain starts the chain starts a rolling.
That's such a fantastic draw too. The Assessor, not only the Assessor, but immediately hitting into another Hearthguard alongside a Culling Strike. So pretty much every unit that Tenerex has put in his deck is going to be +2/+2.
Yep. Yeah, essentially the entirety of their deck is going to be +2/+2.
Foundry going to go down for L Games. Not a lot of puff caps yet for Tenerex. So Tenerex is actually kind of okay with this Foundry at this point, because just getting more resources for the mid-range deck is quite good. L Games is going to have to get to the point where they are putting a lot more pressure via puff caps for this to actually come in their favor, but L Games also themselves need a lot of units, and we are going to get a 3-mana 5/5. The thing about this is shuffling the Yeti is like only kind of good, because a lot of your cards are higher quality at this point, But a 1-mana 5/5 is pretty much never bad, right? You're always still going to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah,
Plus,
honestly,
you draw 2 cards right now,
right?
And so you're almost always going to hit it.
Well, yeah, now it's guaranteed to hit it next turn because of the investigator. But really, I mean, the cards might technically be higher quality, but really, all Tenorix sees is 5+ attack, 5+ attack, 5+ attack. Who cares what it actually is? The abilities are irrelevant. I just want to bash face at this point. And I'd rather pay 1 mana than any other amount right now.
Absolutely. So it comes down to, can L Games get enough puff caps in and maybe enough damage through with the leveled Ezreal? You do have a Troll Chant to try and keep the Peddler alive. Ezreal will level, get the Frostbite down onto the Assessor. We'll be able to push some damage and get more puff caps. This will probably prompt the Culling Strike at some point.
I have to imagine. I mean, it doesn't have to be now.
Yeah,
but
out on the Ezreal.
It might as well be, right?
And get the Teemo down, but the freezes are there for Tenorix, so we won't see the Teemo be able to get the double of the mushrooms. That would have been a way for L Games to try and come back. Ezreal off the top is huge, though. Might force a double freeze out of Tenorix. Try and stop the creation of the Mystic Shot, the damage, and the doubling of the puff caps, but there are ways now for L Games to continue to put more damage down.
Yeah.
And the Troll Chant will be able to stop a little bit of damage. However, this board is getting a little bit too wide.
Well, this is interesting on both sides because Tenorix wants to keep mana open to interact, right, with the freezes, but also wants to play this Incisive Tactician. Because, like, can Tenorix, take 2/4 here, plus another 3 from Mystic Shot would be 7. Can they take 7 and survive against 6 mana? I don't know. But if you can play Incisive Tactician and then attack right now. Opponent is likely dead to that. The question is, are you surviving at 9 versus your opponent's hand at 6 mana?
Yeah, it gets a little scary, doesn't it? It gets a little bit dicey because you'd be letting the Ezreal through, you'd be letting the Teemo through, so you've got mushrooms, you've got the extra Mystic Shot that's going to be able to get some more damage down. Gets very dicey. Now the draws come through. Only 1 Shroom. Iceveil Archer, good answer to a develop. But it is just going to be the Frostbite and the attack in. It's going to be an open with the Ashe level up. No block's going to be available. I don't think L Games lives here. I'm pretty sure he's just dead.
Well, you can Brittle Steel 1 unit. You can block with Ezreal, which is good. So you can Brittle Steel the 6/2. You can get excited your own face, and yeah, I mean, this is just over, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Done. Yeah, it's done. Get excited is not going to be able to do anything. The Troll Chant is not able to. Troll Chant presents 2 damage. Yeah, you need to prevent way too much damage here. Have to stop 9 damage. It was not going to happen.
You got to stop 10.
Yeah. So L Games going to go down in game 1. Gonna have to try and bring it back against Tenorix's Teemo deck. It's just gonna be the elusives left. And that deck has some hands that are pretty hard to beat for a lot of decks. I think that Freljord Teemo might do okay because they have elusives that can block. They have freezes to stall some of the big attacks, because a lot of those attacks are like what you like to call timing attacks, right? Where it's like, a Green Glade duo with a bunch of things on the board buffing it up. You Brittle Steel that for 1 mana, and then the Green Glade is a lot less threatening on future turns, right? So there are ways to actually deal with this. Thermo Beam is actually very nice to kill the Zed when it comes down early, but Zed also has tools like Twin Disciplines, and that can help him survive as well. So
Yeah.
Teemo on 1 with the attack token, however, for L Games, very nice. Unless there is a Teemo or a Blade Scout for Tenorix that will get in. But even then, in this matchup, I think you're okay with your Teemo trading for L Games.
Yeah.
I think it's not it's not too bad.
You want to take trades where you can for sure, especially if it, well, you probably don't want to take a trade with a Blade Scout, but actually you might just have to, unfortunately for L Games. But yeah, I would think in general, like you said, there are like good cards for L Games against Tenorix's deck here, but like the concept of the deck where you're getting your opponent to draw more cards just does not bode well when that allows them to play multiple spells a turn. It's better against a deck that has a bunch of 5s and 6s where having more cards in their hand doesn't actually put anything more on the board because you're only able to play 1 card a turn. It could potentially be quite scary.
Yeah, this looks like the Zed hand from Tenorix. Past till 3 with the elusive list. No, Solitary Monk hand. Okay, that's the kind of similar. Where you don't want to be playing anything before the Solitary Monk, and now you got the 3/3 elusive on deck. You've got 3 mana banked. Now Tenorix can start building a pretty scary board, but L Games was able to get some shrooms in already. And a whiff! I called it earlier. I said, hey, there's 8 PNZ cards in this deck. That's kind of a lot. There's decent odds for you to just miss. And Tenorix does just that.
Brutal. Yeah, I mean, this turn goes from potentially a huge push on the side of Tenorix to just like the mopiest of mope here.
On top of that, L Games now knows kind of what the draw is going to be. It's either Teemo, Mystic Shot, or Get Excited. So you know there's either going to be burn for Tenorix, or you're going to know that there's a Teemo. And you'll find out about the Teemo quick enough, right? Because it'll hit the board pretty fast. With 5 mana, you're going to play the 1 mana elusive very early on. So if Tenorix sees a Teemo played pretty much immediately, he knows that, okay, the burn was not the draw. He also knows that there was a Get Excited in hand because that has just been played. So there's less in deck, but we do have the Teemo level up coming through for L Games.
Yeah, and I have to think you might be fine taking that Teemo hit if you drew like a Mystic Shot or Get Excited. Oh, that was the Mystic Shot that was drawn, I believe.
Maybe just wanted L Games to tap out of Troll Chant and go for the Mystic Shot because it wasn't a double yet. It wasn't a leveled Teemo hitting your face. It was just it's just 5 shrooms, which is, of course, you don't want 5 shrooms in your deck, but you're willing to take the 5 shrooms in order to try to ensure that you take out the Teemo, and it works out. Pays dividends for Tenorix. Good patience to hold on to that. And now one of the scary threats of a Teemo coming through and doubling the shrooms is now gone, and here's a Teemo played down. So a lot of the PNZ cards are gone now, so if we do see that next Wayfinder come out, its odds are pretty good, and it will actually work out for Tenorix this time. Static Shock, another great card in this matchup that L Games has access to.
Interesting choice here. Killing the Shadow Assassin over the Teemo. It, is technically 1 less power, but I think in general, Teemo's worth more than 2 damage for every time it hits.
So that was something we calculated, actually, Blev, back when we made Burn. When Burn was first made, Teemo's attack was calculated somewhere between 1.3 and 1.5 damage per attack on the average game.
Sure. So like a 2.5 versus a 2.0, right? Or you're 1. saying 1.5. 1.5. Okay.
Yeah, 1.3
not an
and
additional
1.5.
1.5.
No.
Gotcha.
No, yeah. So each Teemo attack is actually worth less than the 2 damage from the Shadow Assassin.
Gotcha.
Obviously, that can change based on like the amount of cards drawn and et cetera, et cetera. And yes, this deck from L Games draws a lot of cards, so maybe you can argue that the Teemo is going to end up being worth more. But that is just some food for thought. When we calculated for Burn, that was kind of what we had calculated out to, and it was the reason that he actually ran Teemo is because his damage that he gets in was on average, decent compared to some other 1-drops who would get blocked more often. It was like still worth it to go for the Teemo who is elusive.
Gotcha. Well, the other consideration to leave Teemo in play is also it turns on other Teemos in the hand. Whereas like the Teemo's spell is basically useless in this matchup for Tenorix here, but L Games able to secure it here. We're going to a game 3.
Yeah. I mean, L Games finds the win. Is it off the back of the Allegiance whiff? I mean, maybe not, because it seems like he had pretty good control of this game. I think the Allegiance whiff obviously is a big factor, right? Not being able to just pull out those additional 1-drops. Potentially, those Teemos were drawn after the fact as well, and you don't want to be drawing Teemo. You don't want to draw an Navori Blade Scout. You want those to come down onto the board when you play your Wayfinder. So, of course, you know, it's a bit rough for Tenorix, but as another go of it against Scouts here, both of these decks can get very aggressive and can get out of hand very quickly, and that is a lemon from L Games to start things off.
Yep, this is, you know, not a great hand. But we did see Tenorix win when their earliest drop in their opening hand was a 5-drop, and they still won that game. So anything is possible.
Yeah, I mean, if every card from here on out is a good draw for L Games, it doesn't matter, right? Because those rallies are actually good in the matchup, just not, you don't want, normally you don't want 2 of them, you want 1. You want exactly 1. And you certainly don't want them at the start. You want to draw them later after you've been able to develop a very good board. But L Games at least finds a 2-drop. He might not play it because he probably wants the effect still, but I actually think there's argument to just slamming this because you have a 2/3/4. So what else, when are you going to play this Bright Steel if not now to try and develop more on the board? Obviously it can't block, so it's not getting any value immediately. And you do have spells to play, so banking the mana is not bad. It's just a matter of having the time to actually play out an aggressive wide board. Gonna start with the Misfortune. Does have a couple 4-drops to play, but ooh, boy, this is a great hand from Tenorix. A lot of 1-drops alongside the Green Glade duo. That is the only time you really are happy to see your 1-drops, is if they're accompanied by the duo or just a single one on turn 1. Normally you want to see those come out with the Wayfinder, but this is an exception, and you're getting aggressive with a Green Glade duo.
Quinn looking like she's going to be a little bit slow here. And, you know, the other consideration to not playing the 2-drop is to allow this turn to actually have a rally effect. And it seems like it could actually be all right. But it's just not a lot of, it's just not that much pressure, right? Tenorix just says, skip block, right? Regardless.
Oh, and you get the free Zed.
Sure.
Yeah. You just go for the rally, but I'm with you. I think this is probably just a skip block angle out of Tenorix. Take the 8. Your next turn should be able to find lethal. It's only 9 damage. You have a duo on board. You have a Blade Scout in hand. That's already going to be worth 3 damage with 1 mana. Your Zed gives an additional damage to the Green Glade duo just for attacking.
Yeah. And notably, L Games deck has no real board interaction. It's just it's just riposts, sharp sights, and Rangers Resolve. So there's no single combats, no concerted strikes to actually deal with the units. So Tenorix has to worry about sharp sight, but you know, has to worry about sharp sight in the sense that you always have to worry about it.
Yeah, in that sense, you never have to worry about it because you're an elusive deck. You're not really going to play around sharp sight. You're just kind of attacking. And you can see this coming a mile away after we see Tenorix trying to set L Games down to 3 health. It's just going to be a get excited, and it's going to be Tenorix taking down the previous champion 2-1 in that matchup to move on to the winner's bracket final. Only going to need 1 more in order to make it to the final and get the invite back to next week's fight night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, a matchup can happen like that, right? And it could very easily happen in the inverse order, right? That's just how these Allegiance decks tend to work. Of course, here's the The recap here, Tenrex able to get their Noxus Freljord win and then does end up getting that Elusives victory. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you live by the allegiance, you die by it. Of course, the allegiance keyword didn't matter in that scenario, but just drawing your cards in the right order really changes the power level and speed of both of those decks, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely does. I mean, it's hard to say what is going to happen with Tenrex moving forward with this elusive list. We saw some flaws immediately within game one, right? We saw Wayfinder miss and the deck fell flat. And it also, you know, when it didn't get aggressive until turn 3 with just a Solitary Monk turn instead of a Zed turn, it felt very underwhelming. Solitary Monk, used to be great with Solitary Monks and standalone, or it used to be a very, very scary card. It was 4 power, not 3.
It was.
It doesn't look so intimidating anymore when you pass till turn 3 and play a Solitary Monk that is just a 3/3 elusive. It just does not feel that terrifying whatsoever. But of course, we saw the inverse, which was the duo with multiple 1-drops and just getting crazy aggressive. But we'll have to see if Tenrex continue to keep up this momentum going into the winners final. We'll be playing the winner between Milk and Ferreira, so we'll have to see who finds the victory there, and we'll take on Tenrex. We are going to go to a short break, but when we return, more Fight Night Legends. Don't go anywhere.
Everybody find somebody. Everybody find somebody. Everybody find somebody.
I can take your pain away. I can take it. I can take it. I can take your pain away from you. From you. I can take your pain away. I can take it. I can take it. I can take your pain away.
Welcome back to Giant Slayer's Fight Night Legends, presented by Wisdom. We are moving on to the winners final between Tenerex and Ferreira. This is going to be the decider to see who will move on to the next week's Fight Night Legends, and also grand finals tonight to make some of that sweet money. We got the losers bracket running through at the moment as well, Blev, but anything sticking out to you on this bracket so far?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing that jumps out is, of course, L Games, our current reigning champion, is in the losers bracket playing up against What Am I, who was our runner-up last week. So we're seeing a grand finals rematch, but unfortunately for those two players, in the losers bracket. So that definitely jumps out for sure, as of course both of those players are top players in the world, and certainly have had great fight night performances.
Yeah, they absolutely have, and they are incredibly strong players, and one of them might even be able to threaten for making it all the way back to the grand finals and making that full losers run, but only one of them will be able to do that, as they are playing against each other now. But of course, we'll just have to see the result of that one, as that is in the losers quarterfinal. We don't normally stream that round. We're going to be in the winners final instead. Tenerex and Ferreira going to be going up against each other. We've got another Viego this time around. Ferreira has brought Viego Nasus alongside Zoe Lee Sin. Of course, Lee Sin having a bit of a resurgence alongside the twin discipline buff as well.
Yeah, a lot of folks have been calling, myself included, actually, I did say this, Lee Sin arguably or likely the strongest archetype in the format right now. Obviously the traditional Zoe Lee Sin is what we're seeing Ferreira bring, but even Lee Sin and the new champion, which we haven't seen on stream yet, Action. Definitely been making a big splash in the meta and just in the game in general, in some of those combo decks, which I'm surprised that not even a single person brought.
Yeah,
they've been a little bit tough with the cutoff and new decks and whatnot, and people wanting to play what they're more comfortable with, considering the deck was probably created only a few days ago and even shorter of a time frame between when they had to submit their decks. But certainly the Action and Sivir deck has been essentially just replaced the Zed Sivir at this point.
Right.
And,
yeah, it's just
Action.
I've heard the term strictly better been called multiple times by multiple players compared to the Zed. I don't know if it's true yet, right? Like, I don't think there's been enough time to like. That is what people I've been hearing, right? That's what I keep seeing people say. Strictly better is what I hear.
I'm very leery to use strictly better when you have two cards that are very different.
So different.
But I'm
so
calling
different.
it here. I'm agreeing with them. It is strictly better. The action deck is, I mean, I will say it here. Action, one of my favorite just cards, period, in Legends of Runeterra that's ever been made. I think it opens up so much. I have a strong suspicion, and I actually mean a strong suspicion. I don't actually have any inside information on this at all, that the combo variant at least will be changed in some way, just based on what they've stopped or changed in the past, or even preemptively stopped in the old
With the Tarek.
Yeah, with Tarek, yeah. They just didn't let that happen. And
Tarek Playful Trickster was just denied. Yeah.
Yeah. This feels like what that would have been, right? Where it's like, is it the absolute strongest thing? Arguable. I don't know what tier that deck actually is, but is it really annoying to play against? And especially like I don't think Riot wants to create a scenario where you're compelled to concede to end the game. And this certainly does that, because I've had some 4 or 5 minute one turn. It's just my turn taking game actions for 4 or 5 minutes, and I'm actually progressing. It's not like the old just like the old Hush. Remember the old version of Hush where you could just literally keep casting Hush over and over again and just stall the game? You're actually technically progressing. You're just like casting and recasting spells to cycle through the Warlord's Tomb or whatever it's called, to draw more cards, to play more zillions, to get infinite time bombs. Yeah, it's you're doing a lot of stuff that is technically progressing the game and will end eventually in a win, but it's not fast.
No, and just like last week, instead of learning all the new decks, I played 40 games of Lurk. This week, instead of learning that new deck and some of the other ones that have kind of sprung up this week, I played 40 games of Battering Ram. So with the Minotaur. So I'm definitely very prepared for all these new meta decks with all of my Battering Ram experience.
Yeah.
Playing against them and ignoring what they do and just playing the Ram and then playing the Minotaur and attacking like 3 or 4 times on a single turn.
I will say, if I would have played this week, I would have had a spicy lineup, because I would have brought one of the combo decks, as well as a not Battering Ram Minotaur, but Fizz Minotaur, Fizz Elusives Minotaur, which I believe that was Faint HD who came up with that list. I saw Squeeby playing it on his stream, but boy, that deck is explosive, and in my eyes is the spiritual successor to Emusives, because it's a cow. Get it? Emusives.
Yep.
No moose, but we do get the moo.
Bluff, we got it, Bluff.
I'll chat, if anyone doesn't get it, just DM me. I'll explain it to you.
His DMs are open just to explain his jokes to you. Just so you know, chat. So
Always.
if you ever have a question, he's got you. But we are gonna jump into game. It's gonna be Lee Sin versus Ash Noxus. This is actually a pretty interesting matchup. We've seen it for a long time, in fact. And Frostbite historically has had ways to deal with Lee Sin because of, well, Frostbite. It's a great answer to Lee in general, being able to once he is buffed and goes for the kick, you get the freeze. Now, of course, there are rebuffs, and Twin Disciplines is fantastic at dealing with Frostbite and giving attack back to Lee Sin, but at the same time, the ability to freeze Cull, have different ways to actually deal with Lee, has given Frostbite game in the past against this list, and it's an answer that absolutely can work. So we'll be interested to see which direction this matchup goes between Tenorix and Ferreira. We are starting off with an Eye of the Dragon and a couple of Gifts from Beyond to continue to get a bunch of early Dragon Links.
Yeah. The freeze is certainly good against Lee Sin. Culling Strike also good against, non-leveled Lee Sin. I think honestly one of the biggest strengths of the Frostbite deck against Lee Sin is the fact that let's see, 4 of their cards are basically dead in the 2 denies and 2 notifies. Yes, there is the 1 Reckoning and technically Calling Strike as well, but for the most part, you're not going to have these high impact denies with the exception of exactly, denying one Reckoning. A lot of times this deny is just going to live in Ferreira's hand, and it's going to be lackluster.
All right, but for now, Tenorix just going to be putting the pressure on with LeBlanc. There is not a way to deal with her out the gates. Lee Sin being in hand now will be a potential answer with just the challenge available. Crescendum going to allow for more stall with additional Dragonlings. We'll be able to summon 2 Dragonlings going into Tenorix's next attack turn.
Yep. The secret third champion of Zoe Lee Sin, the Eye of the Dragon, just such a good card. So strong. And, well, one is going to be dealt with,
Yeah,
but
that's
boy,
worth the Cullen Strike.
there's another one coming out, and next turn we could see a third.
Another one.
Yes.
Going to be Ash coming down. Just a concussive palm to preemptively stop that attack so that the freeze doesn't come out. Just going to be a little Dragonito going to block onto the LeBlanc. But LeBlanc still gets progress towards the level up. So Tenorix is okay with just bashing LeBlanc into the wall that is the Eye of the Dragon. And slowly going to get value out of it.
Yep, you get LeBlanc level up progress, you get a reputation strike. It's all fine. I mean, no life gain from Ferreira, but it's better than not attacking, which is good. And unfortunately, chat, we apologize. We're getting a bit of a slideshow here, but that is just the nature of the streams that we have access to. Can't really do anything about it, unfortunately. So we are going to try to dictate what we're seeing as best we can for you. So, like, just going to get a little bit of chip in on the side of Ferreira with the Shadow Assassin. Actually not even going to attack with the Dragonling. Says, you know what? LeBlanc progress and the Reputation Strike not worth the 2 life gain, which makes a lot of sense on the side of Ferreira. You don't want... level up LeBlanc can certainly end a game very quickly and decisively.
Yeah, this board is getting very wide for Tenorix, and Ferreira's going to have to find a way to start dealing with it. And they might be feeling enough pressure to slam the Lee Sin. The issue is there's not a ton of protection. There is, of course, the deny, right? So that is going to be the big one, is having that available to stop a freeze call, or I don't believe there's any Reckoning for Tenorix. Oh, there actually is one.
There's one.
So Tenorix is running one Reckoning. It was earlier as Milk that did not have one in their version.
Yep.
So we'll have to watch out for freeze plus Reckoning or freeze plus Culling Striker. Actually, you don't even need the freeze for the Reckoning, as Lee Sin does not have 5 attack. But just going to go with the Zoe instead, try and stall out, maybe get Tenorix to spend a little bit more mana, and then look to develop the Lee, set him up for an attacking turn, or set up this turn to be able to play out one of these Zenith Blades.
Yeah, I mean, if you can survive this turn, the problem is that it is very unlikely that you're going to be able to threaten lethal next turn reasonably, right? I mean, you might not even be able to level up Lee Sin is one problem, but you might, even if you can physically get Lee Sin up to a 9 power overwhelm, what are the chances that there's no freeze? I mean, there's even additional outs of freezes in Tenorix's hand via there being an additional Ash in hand. So this is really looking difficult for Ferreira here, as Tenorix is really putting the screws to him and pressuring the Lee Sin deck and not giving him any sort of wiggle room.
And LeBlanc level up, actually going to, I believe this is going to generate the mirror image as well. Yeah, it's going to be 3 hits. That's 15 damage. Here's a mirror image ready to go to copy Ash potentially on the next turn, which is such a powerful combo. Level LeBlanc with an Ash on board is so scary. Now, fortunately for Ferreira, if you want to say fortunately, there is no board space for a mirror image to actually be played.
Yep.
So CenterX actually won't be able to copy the Ashe, but yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to continue. The Lee Sin likely will clear something. It's just a matter of, can you actually clear the Ashe, which is the scariest thing, but even then you
Right.
might just duplicate the LeBlanc. It's all a little bit doomed for now, as Ferreira does not really have a lethal combo available yet, and even if they did, there is potential just to have it frozen.
I think if we go, do we have enough mana? That would be 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we can get to exactly 9. Because we can go up, if when Lee levels, it will be 5,
Right.
6, 7, and then we can get a +2 from the
Gifts.
the Ophelio spell. So it's really, does Ferreira think that they can live the next attack? My gut says no. So is it likely that they're able to live here? That they're going to get this Lee Sin lethal through? No, it's not likely. But I think it's just as unlikely that they're going to survive next turn too.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you all in. I think you just have to all in, as we do get the slideshow level up animation from Lee
Yeah.
Sin.
This is like pre-alpha. They're like, this is what a level up might look like, and it just shows.
It's been
a little-
storyboarded by the art
Yes.
team, but not quite animated yet.
Yep. Oh, well, we saw into the future. We saw we did in fact see a freeze go down. It's like LeBlanc still gonna get killed here. Does not look like it's gonna be lethal though. Yes, but when we get to scroll through the game, the game library, not a bit of lag, just the perfect.
Oh, second a
This works
spell comes
perfectly.
down.
Okay.
Yeah. Control chant to keep the LeBlanc alive. We'll just be taking basically 1 damage from the Lee. Well, 2, I guess, because he'll bop you as well.
Yeah.
And the LeBlanc's going to get replayed. No board space, however, yet again.
Yep.
In fact, the freeze, it looks like, was the Ice Veil Archer Blev is what we got. So when the slow speed spell
I
was
see.
played, because I'm seeing the full board once again. So
Mhm,
Ice Veil
mhm.
Archer overwrit the Omen Hawk to freeze the Lee.
Okay. All right, looks like we're gonna look to pre-level Ashe. I'm assuming that this attack will level Ashe, which means we're gonna have no additional blockers.
Yeah,
That looks
can
like
go ahead
11,
and hush the
20.
Ash, and then we'll actually have
Sure.
blockers. But I'm
Sure.
curious if that's even going to be enough to survive. It's only 6 health.
Well, we can block 3 units, so we would need somewhere. Okay, yes, we can live because we can hush the Ash, and then we can cast Lee Sin spell on the Dragonling to gain life. So I think we can live on 2 life. Actually, that might not be true because of the order of attackers. Yeah, it's close. We might still be exactly dead.
Yeah, I mean, definitely all starts with hushing Ash,
Yes.
and then it's
Yep, there's
definitely
Sonic
going to
Wave.
be Sonic Wave Resonating Strike. Like you said, it's going to go on the Dragonling.
Yep. Yep, and this I'm imagining is shuffling around some blockers, trying to get this to work. I think we're exactly dead regardless. Because we're effectively at 8. But the 8 has to come at one of the first 2 blocked, and there it is.
Yep,
The
not
slideshow.
enough. There we go. We made it to the final slide of the PowerPoint. Thank
It's like
you
one
for
of the-
coming to the presentation of Lee Sin versus Frostbite Ash. As you can see here, Frostbite does make it very difficult for us to display blockers in front of Ashe. However, we may have some answers. They're not quite enough to deal with a full board. So, in conclusion, that is a defeat for Ferreira, and that is a victory for Tenorix.
That felt a lot like one of my middle school or high school presentations where it's like it really got phoned in, and it's like, okay, we're in the middle of a match, and the next slide is defeat. Okay, yep, and then the worst of those presentations is when you end, and then you have to say something like "the end" or "I'm done." That's just the most awkward, cringe thing, and I hope everyone listening felt the cringe that I did while explaining that.
Look, Blev, if this game keeps slideshowing a little bit, maybe we just present the game as though we are presenting a group project for a class.
Yes.
And so you'll see our theory is that Lee Sin, when it has multiple eyes of the dragon, will be able to lifesteal and sustain through many aggro matchups. However, when paired against an elusives deck, sometimes it does not have the same result, as the Dragon Links cannot find enough lifesteal in order to actually prevent you from dying to the overhead attackers.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but he said it first, so he took my answer.
I didn't mean literally. Oh god.
There's at least like 2 people in chat that are like, "Yep, I either was that person or I've." Everyone remembers that person in class, right?
Oh god.
Just like Ferreira might remember this Get Excited on their Eye of the Dragon, which certainly is a good one, because yes, the Dragon Link can't block the elusives, but you are able to effectively gain that life on attack if you can set it up. But Tenorix coming out pretty aggressively here.
Yeah, Tenorix actually able to establish a very wide board of elusives straight away, and Ferreira's hand is looking a little bit sad in response to this. Now, granted, the Hush is actually quite good against the duo specifically, which is one of the biggest threats that you do face against this elusive list, is just the Green Glade duo getting really ramped up. So having that one Hush is going to be nice, and the fact that you can also use Palm on this turn to try and slow down some of the DPS is going to be at least somewhat helpful for Ferreira, but it's a pretty doomed start. However, there are potential outs as there is Lee Sin already in hand. So if Ferreira is able to get the Lee Sin level up, we saw last time the ability to actually just deal 18 on a single turn did come up. And when you're dealing with this elusive list, it does not have as many ways to stop itself from just dying to that kick. Pretty much it's only retreat that would prevent half of the damage.
Yeah, it certainly you can stop the kick damage, but not the overwhelm. But yeah, really Tenorix is just going to try to prevent that from happening by preventing Ferreira from having a life total, and by forcing them to spend their resources defensively instead of spending them setting up a Lee Sin. Granted, now could be an all right time to set up a Lee Sin. You're going to be taking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage in a Teemo hit. It's not lethal. The defensive Lee Sin is all right, but Ferreira is instead going to palm the duo.
Yep, palms the duo. Looks like wants to hold Hush for the next time that the duo gets very big. Just going to stun this time because it's only 5 damage coming through. Seems like that's pretty okay to just allow to happen. I wonder, Ferreira, though, will want to play one additional spell. That's Hush onto Teemo? Really? That's surprising.
Yeah, I feel like Teemo's not super high impact. I wonder. No, we're not gonna have. We're only gonna have 6 mana next turn, so it's unlikely that we'll be able to play Lee Sin and Spell next turn.
Yeah, it seems like there was an answer from TenorX as well as we do look at this next slide. As you can see, the next slide, this is a P and Z version, which does have burn spells within it.
Right.
So a Mystic Shot was likely used to protect the Teemo after the Hush was used by Ferreira. Now, as we go to the next slide, Lee Sin has been
Yes.
developed and
Okay.
will be used in order to start dealing with some of the elusives, as well as the Lee Sin spell, Sonic Wave Resonating Strike, to give that challenger to the Dragonling trying to deal with more. So there we are.
Yes, we're now caught up on the presentation. Actually, Tedderic's gonna be using the Get Excited to save the duo, which of course, you know, it seems like, oh man, you're using a Get Excited, using 3 damage to save a unit, but of course that's threatening way more damage and preventing the life gain. So definitely a huge swing on the side of Tenorix there. And, you know, we're looking at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage right now. I'll have to see what the last 2 cards in Tenorix's hand are.
Yeah, we'll have to see, and potentially on the next slide, we'll find out actually what those cards in hand are
See
from
if they
Tenorix. But as for this slide, we do have the open attack slide for your viewing pleasure. We know that there is a concussive palm available to potentially stop some of this damage, as well as a Sir William of Ionia.
Yes.
Is joining us for this presentation as well. He's a guest presenter for this in particular slide. So, William, take it away.
Yeah, so here I'm going to be able to stop this lethal from happening. It's interesting. It may seem like an interesting attack to bring in the 2-1, essentially sending it to its death, but because of that 2-1's attack, Tenorix was threatening lethal and forced a block on the side of Ferreira, effectively eliminating the option to hit skip block. That was my William. That was what William of Ionia sounds like.
Thank you so much, Sir William, for your insight into this moment. Of course, you know, we are going to see you here stopping this attack from the Green Glade duo from killing Ferreira. Actually, in fact, we're not, because I'm looking at the mana wrong on this slide, and it's actually going to be 6 damage to the dome. Ferreira's in fact going to be down to 2 HP. So, Sir William, you know, we'll have to see you later, potentially at a later slide. I know you're still hanging out here. You'll be here maybe for the rest of the day, as there's only a little bit of mana to expend. So, you know, not sure if you'll be making another appearance.
Yeah, I mean, I will clarify, that was the great grandson of the legendary Sir William of Ionia, but is still technically part of the lineage. And also technically was knighted by in Ionia. So
Billy of Ionia.
Billy of Ionia. But we are actually seeing a lethal attack presented. I think this slide is showing that there is lethal being presented here, or at least 18. And it looks like there's a couple of Sonic Waves here, getting some favorable pulls on the side of Ferreira, and we saw a Shen emote go out. Is this enough?
I think it's just Ferreira saying, hey, if you don't beat me with your next 2 cards, that's just going to be the game. I mean, he's got the Will of Ionia, so
and
really,
deny.
It should be okay.
Yeah, you've got the 1-2. I think Ferreira probably beats everything here.
Yeah, Will for the Zed. I mean, even Zed himself is not ending this.
Yeah. Oh, and we skipped a slide here, and we're now on to Ferreira's attack. Okay, and there it is.
And in conclusion, Lee Sin is victorious, and we will have another slideshow presentation for you. The Game 3 slideshow is coming up right now. In fact, actually, we're going to have the Game 3 slideshow. I hope you enjoyed our first 2 PowerPoint presentations, because we have a lot more where that came from.
Yeah, there's plenty more. Believe us.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, it's a fine line to walk with that elusives deck. You really do need to end the game on a specific turn against a deck like Lee Sin, which not only has the control elements, but also is able to end the game very quickly. In fact, potentially even in 1 turn with the Lee Sin. Of course, we saw it over the course of 2 turns, but that's enough. Lee Sin able to play defense and offense there, and it's just enough to finish it.
All right, but now Ferreira gets to play Viego. I've been excited for this deck. I think it's very strong. Here, Alan ZQ was able to hit rank 1 on EU, playing actually a mono version of Viego, was not actually playing Nasus in that variation of the list, playing a lot more control tools instead of the Nasus to try and just stall out for the late game Viegos. But
yeah, I definitely like having either Viego or Nasus. I don't know how much I like the double up. They seem like they serve similar roles, but I mean they're both good in the same deck. I just don't know if you want both or just one or the other.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I've also heard people saying that Viego's strictly better than Thresh in this deck. I don't know how I feel about that one.
Okay,
but it is funny that people keep saying
that one. I will not let fly because they just serve very different roles. Yeah, what if your opponent has a unit that you want to kill and challenge? What does Viego do there? Nothing. Not strictly better. You're using strictly incorrectly. That use of strictly is strictly worse than the correct usage.
Doesn't pull your Nasus out of the deck, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of differences.
I think, yeah, this is yeah. Oof. Oh boy. But anyhow, Ferreira's board may be strictly better than Tenorex's right now. Though, again, that is probably an incorrect usage, as we're at roughly parity. I mean, Zed does pack quite a bit of punch here. Okay, we're no longer on what... Wow, I don't want to speak too soon, but it looks like we may no longer be on slideshow mode, though it does look like we've jumped ahead of quite a bit, as there's a Viego in play, a 6-1.
Yeah, we've skipped a little bit of time in order to get some stability back.
All right, I'll catch us up on the turns in between. And now we're here, and the attack is coming through. Not quite lethal. And Ferreira going to have another shot at life, as they're actually going to be able to survive the get excited as well.
Yeah, it's crazy how for a total of like 5 turns there, Blev, you just didn't let me talk, but it's okay.
Was
like,
really
it did
weird.
Work out. It was just a very, like, you got really passionate about this matchup, and I mean, it's great to see, but
sometimes you just got to monologue it, okay? It's just, you know.
But at this point, I mean, Tenorex has a pretty big advantage on this board. This is looking like it may end up being a victory for Tenorex unless Ferreira is able to find some kind of board clear, and that would mean you would have to add one to the deck and then use it, because there really only is Black Spear as a potential answer, and there's no way to actually stop these elusives from getting in outside of that. Black Spear also would have to be turned on, and there's nothing to do that at burst speed, so an open attack theoretically should be able to get that last 3 points of damage needed for the get excited to end the game. So it does look like Tenorex should have this pretty wrapped up, unless somehow Ferreira is able to just end the game here or create an opportunity for Atrocity to finish the game during Tenorex's next swing.
Yeah, and so the 3-1 was played here, the name of which I forget. The Silent Shadow Seer was played here. Now, wait, I thought that... Wait.
What's up, Blev? What's wrong?
I thought I Okay, no, I'm just remembering incorrectly. So the point I was going to make was completely irrelevant. So I'm going to pretend like I didn't start making it, and blocks are going to be coming out
okay.
here. The Silent Shadows here makes a lot of sense here because obviously you're able to block Fearsome and not have to put your Green Glade duo in harm's way, which is of course what you want to use to end the game.
Oh, I actually like this play a lot. I like using the Shadow Shift on the Teemo because you can redevelop Teemo on this turn and it still leaves open attack for you. And we just went over the fact that there is no answer to open attack in this deck. But instead, it looks like Viego is trying to be removed by the Get Excited.
Sure.
Wait, this is a potential throw, is it not, Blev? Because didn't we just go over how it was like almost a guaranteed win, right?
It was a guaranteed presentation of lethal. It was not a guaranteed survive atrocity, I think is what...
It was now, though, wasn't it? Unless Viego's getting more stats that I'm not thinking about. Because you were able to keep yourself at 11 with the Teemo coming back to hand.
Oh, sure.
And then replay it and go for the open attack. So then the only thing that would prevent you from just winning on the spot would be Viego Atrocity onto yourself. But I guess it doesn't matter because you clear the board, so there's no way to punish the develop of Usari, because even then, it's not like you can kill something to turn on Black Spear and then play it on one action. So I guess either way, I think is deterministic lethal. And maybe this one is slightly even better because it beats Atrocity, preventing you from killing them and extending the game. So maybe this works out a little bit better. Either way, very well done. That's just going to be the victory. Viego steals a unit from... Oh, that's true.
If he
Would that happen in
levels...
time?
If... I actually don't know how
Round
Viego
start.
works.
Round start, not round end. Round start for Viego. So it would steal. Okay, so this was actually just a much better play. It's new champions. I got to get used to them. I thought it was round end that he stole a unit instead of round start, which is why I was confused. But thank you, chat, for pointing that out. Would have been able to steal that away and would have been able to actually find the win. So very well done. That is going to be the victory with the Viego list, or not with the Viego list, sorry, with the Teemo list, the Elusives. Kinku Elusives going strong. 10x making it to the grand finals. Going to be invited back to next week's fight night. And we'll have to see who joins them in the grand finals soon enough. We're going to go to a short break, but when we return, more Fight Night Legends. Don't go anywhere.
Following the waves of your gold,
All right. Welcome back, you hooligans. Thank you so much to Deej for the raid. Unfortunately, chat was getting spammed so much, it caused one of our players' computers to overheat. And because of that, there's some technical difficulties, and we're going to have to, wait for their computer to calm down a little bit. It was a little too hot in here. And then we'll get those games for you. So we're going to go to another quick break. When we come back, we'll have the rest of the games for Fight Night. So just don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a moment. Welcome back to Giant Slayer's Fight Night Legends presented by Wisdom. We are now moving on to the losers bracket since we have found our first grand finalist. It is Tenorix from Mafia Esports. We are going to have Oscillate versus What Am I in the losers semifinal. I'm very excited for this matchup. Oscillate's a player I've been wanting on Fight Night for quite a while now. A lot of people are very excited about this player. And What Am I, of course, on the other side, just perennial seasonal top cut player. Constantly doing really well in Fight Night and tournaments in general, always near the top of the ladder. Just a fantastic player. And he brought Zilean Echo, so I'm pretty stoked to see this. I know you were flaming him a bit for not bringing the good Zilean deck, but I'm interested to see some Zilean Echo.
Not even that it's the good or bad one. I just wanted to see some action. I mean, I just really love him. But this is, it's a very different deck, right? This is a, Zilean Echo sort of like very much a mid-range deck, almost to the point of a control deck, arguably. But it's very good. The action version, of course, is the degenerate combo.
Yeah, it is the crazy combo. But I am excited to see some Zilean Echo on Fight Night. This was a deck that was being played a lot when both these cards first came out, and we really haven't had a chance to see it here on the big stage. But now, What Am I? One of the players who's been really loving this deck, does bring it, is going to be going up against Deep from Oscillate, and is curving out quite nicely. Has the Boom Baboon, has the Merciless Hunter for turn 3, has Echo already ready to get set up and start generating those time drinks.
Yeah, Echo and to an extent Zilean are both cards that I really underrated. Now, I don't think that they're like world beaters necessarily, but they're certainly better than I have given them credit for. Echo really does generate a decent amount of value, especially in a world where, like, yes, it does die to Mystic Shot, but like you don't always play against Mystic Shot, and it really does generate a lot of value. And just the ability to, get those time tricks over and over again is just so strong. Not to mention the, all the other, value and the fact that he has a high attack and his quick attack. Just an all around solid card.
Yep, quite good. I mean, we learned with LeBlanc that high attack value, quick attack cards can just be very powerful. It doesn't matter if they're soft to removal, especially on the cheaper end. Now, of course, Echo, I think maybe not quite having the same splash that LeBlanc did, at least as of now, mainly because, less powerful than LeBlanc, but for more mana as far as just the stats are concerned, right? You can argue about the ability all you want, but when we just look at the body, a 4-2 for 4 with quick attack is worse than a 5-2 for 3 with quick attack, right? So it is, not quite fully one-to-one comparable, but I think it is, reasonable to look at these two cards next to each other and be like, yeah, high attack, quick attack cards tend to end up being pretty solid bodies and impact the board quite heavily.
Yep. Now, I know What Am I? Oh, I guess no. Okay, never mind. The Dreg Dredger was just going to die anyway. I'm like, I really liked that attack there with Zilean because, yes, they might just block with Dreg Dredgers, but also there's a chance they block with Maokai, but I forgot that the bomb was there, so the attack made no sense. But we could have gotten a cheeky suit up Zilean, which I don't think I've seen yet.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen a Zilean get suit up either. In a lot of decks, you actually want the first Zilean to die at least, but I'm not sure if that's the case in this one. I think doubling up some of the cards is going to be okay, especially the removal tools are going to be kind of nice, but we do see the Jaw Hunters not going to go for the Zilean, instead just going to go for the Merciless Hunter, of course. Probably a bigger threat in general. What Am I is going to just protect it, not really worried about this damage coming towards his face, and does have good ways to continue to try and go wide on this board. Merciless Hunter also does threaten good damage to the face against this board, as we do see just a Maokai and a Dredger is not going to be able to actually block the Fearsome. Yeah,
and What Am I is definitely going to need to present a clock relatively quickly over these next couple of turns, because we're going to soon not even just threaten the Maokai level up condition, but also just threaten bigger units than what Am I is able to put out. We do see the Thrumming Swarm, the new card, 7 mana, 8/4 Overwhelm, that once a champion levels up, it basically will... What Am I is going to be able to play one every single turn, but that doesn't matter when Oscillate's able to play these, even bigger units potentially.
Well, I guess somewhat Oscillate's units aren't going to be that much bigger, right, than the Thrumming Swarm. The problem is when Oscillate can play like 4 of them in a turn because it's got Nautilus on board, whereas What Am I can only play the single Thrumming Swarm. Because in general, I would say the Thrumming Swarm is pretty decent at answering some of these sea monsters, even post deep. It's just really the matter of not being able to keep up with the tempo of them continually being able to be played on board, even if you can just play one each turn. But looks like the Zillion's still, again, getting pretty close to finding that level up, which would be pretty nice to just at least have that so that you can try and get ahead of the curve on the Thrumming Swarm before Oscillate is able to be deep, or before Oscillate is able to get that Nautilus down.
Absolutely. We do need to find another Time Bomb, which, of course, Time Trick will give you the best odds of doing that, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, Maokai continuing to make deep happen very quickly. I mean, we are just about there. LoR will get us one away, but also there is just this Fading Memories, which could be used on the Dreadbloom Wanderer, which would immediately get Oscillate to deep. I don't think that's really necessary. However, Oscillate can just go deep naturally. There's not really anything that he is improving on this board by going deep. He can just use the Lure of the Depths and allow himself to just draw into deep on the next turn.
Yeah, this poll is a little interesting. I'm curious. I guess maybe What Am I just wanted the 3/2 gone, the Deadbloom Wanderer just gone regardless, but could have actually pulled with the Merciless Hunter and essentially gave Oscillate the option to block Echo, which of course is not good, but doesn't end up going for it.
All right, there's the Lure. Gonna be just one away from deep, considering just playing the Scarab. It is safe, I believe, into the 2 mana of What Am I, so can just play that. Gonna go deep. It's nice and big. 5/6 for 1 on that turn.
Okay, Fallen Feline. Just giving you the option to get that, I forget what the generated card's name is, but just the ability to have that in your deck when you're doing all of the predicting is just so nice. Obviously not super great against deep specifically, but even if you're able to, essentially make all of your chump blocks into trades, like it's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it can help out quite a bit. The Hexite Crystal is the one that I think you're looking for.
Yes.
I think, if you can copy it as well with the Practical Perfectionist and then continue to find them with the Predicts, it can be actually pretty powerful. If you're just casting a bunch of these out, it actually gives you a fair bit of burn damage. Actually, I don't think you can copy it because you might just draw it. I was going to say,
I was wondering how that interaction works.
You probably can't. You probably just draw it immediately.
Yeah, I know that usually happens. I didn't know if that card works specifically different.
Unlucky. That'd be cool. That'd be a cool combo.
Just gotta do it the old-fashioned way with counterfeit copies.
Yeah, just gonna have to counterfeit copy them instead.
Terror of the Deep, definitely scary. Granted, the weirdly enough, the suit up is going to allow for a block still. At least I think that it works the way you want it to.
Yeah, that's tough. Terror of the Tides continuing to just be a nightmare every time I see it on a board.
Yeah.
You never want to main deck it. It's generally just a pain to find it. But it's one of my favorite things to hit when playing deep. It just feels so powerful whenever you can get it down on the board, but it always felt bad when you would just draw it when trying to main deck a single copy. But it is very, very strong. You see this board not being able to chump block because of it. Echo gets the level. Echo could block with the level up. Would have to sacrifice him. But now that he's leveled, your Thrumming Swarm can start to come down. Get
Very
spammed
true.
out.
You also get the free time trick as well, which is great. Echo's really done his job. There's a time bomb for Zillion.
Yeah, can get the Zillion level up.
Yep, will happen at the beginning of next turn, so we're not going to be getting a bunch of other spell. He's not going to be generating anything yet.
Here's the level up animation. This is one, pretty rare to see. Well, I mean, maybe less rare now because we actually have a Zillion deck that everybody plays. You see it all the time now. But
I've been doing it a ton today.
rare for Fight Night, and was rare until about a couple days ago. So, but we do get a Zillion level
Very
up.
true.
Goes for the Echo. Gonna look for the time trick. I wonder if there's a certain card that What Am I is looking for. Because he's not going for the Thrumming Swarm spam just yet.
Yeah.
And of course, Echo is going to be able to help him draw additional cards, but that is just going to be Echo getting eaten, and the Get Excited's not going to be able to stop that. So he'll just be a guaranteed dead, but additional Echo in hand, ready to swing in and still get that time trick.
Yeah, how about another one? And guess what? If this one dies, there's going to be another one next turn generated by Zillion. Actually, there's going to be two generated by Zillion. Now, so I wonder if What Am I... Okay, doesn't end up attacking, but I wonder if there's any consideration to attacking, because it's going to get chip on the units, even if you're throwing away... even if you throw away an Echo or any of these units, I wonder what am I really is looking for that Hexite crystal, because if you can get the chip on the units, you can really start to clear away the board, and these are very resilient threats and have a lot of health, but once they're gone, they're actually just gone, right? There's not really any refill here on the side of Oscillate.
Yeah, not really. It just would come down to Nautilus pulling back like other sea monsters that maybe have been tossed, but
Right.
it's not like you get even more throughout the game. We do see Thrumming Storm from What Am I, and this might just open up the gates to go for the swing, and then the Atrocity from Oscillate without really any answer available for What Am I. Only two of these blockers can actually go block. The rest is just coming through. You can suit up to stop one more. Actually, will even be able to kill off the Terror of the Tides with the suit up, but end of the day, you take 6 from the eyeball, and the Atrocity should just be able to finish the game as you have used the rest of your mana. There's no interaction. It is guaranteed. Oscillate's going to grab game 1 with Deep, and that just leaves Oscillate on LeBlanc Sivir. So that tweet from Yangzera a couple days ago about the Sivir package? Yeah, that whole thing is in this deck with a bunch of Noxus cards. Any other garbage will do, said Yangzera, and well, this is just that. It is the Sivir package with any other garbage. In this case, it is Reputation. That is kind of the goal that Oscillate has gone for with LeBlanc, Whispered Words, Incisive Tactician. I think this is a very good package to add to Sivir. I think that LeBlanc Sivir is a very, very solid deck. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, it's so strong. I mean, I obviously prefer, but I mean, it really doesn't matter, right? I think that while a bit hyperbolic, it does ring true that you can kind of just play the Sivir package and any other garbage, and you're gonna be playing a competitive deck. Whether it's the best deck out there, the best choice, that's arguable, but it's gonna be a competitive deck.
Yeah, for sure, and you know, we get the start. Having LeBlanc in hand in the opener is quite good. It's just a very strong thing to be doing on 3. Played 5 attack, quick attack, but maybe deciding against it because it's P and Z, I think, is really the consideration. P and Z is one of the most difficult regions to play LeBlanc into because of Mystic Shot. Get Excited also can be a pain, so it's like Oscillate decides that that is going to be the reason, and I think that's why we see it pitched for trying to look for Sivir. I would imagine Sivir actually having a much better matchup, of course, against PNZ with the Spell Shield.
Yeah, Sivir is definitely, I mean, it's a nightmare. She's a nightmare to deal with for many decks, but specifically PNZ for sure. As yes, you can theoretically you could do something like a Get Excited to her, but you're gonna need to do something else first.
Yeah, now the Thrashing Snappers are going to be able to get closer to Reputation pretty quickly. Also, Treasure Seeker is amazing for that because you get these Sandstone Chargers as well to be able to get you even closer to that Reputation. It's just pretty good. Another Thrashing Snapper is probably one too many. You probably want some other cards, but at least it gives some early pressure for Oscillate. And the fact that Whispered Words is in hand already means that you're not too worried about running out of steam too quickly. You'll be able to have at least some form of refill. You've got a Ruined Runner for 5. The only awkward thing is this this turn 4 where you don't really have any plays. So we just see the Walking Sands going to come out entirely just to try and get more procs for Reputation.
Yeah, I mean, the Waking Sands just such, I mean, the not the Waking Sands, but the Treasure Seeker just been such a solid card in Shurima. And weirdly enough, it doesn't, even though I think it arguably is even better. I don't know if it's even better than Dunekeeper was, but it feels less oppressive than that card. Even if it might be putting out more power for 1 mana.
All right, but yeah, having only 4 mana left does not feel nearly as bad for Oscillate. Ends up actually going for the Whispered Words on this turn to be completely mana efficient. Didn't even want to float a single mana. The Whispered Words only needed like 1 or 2 more attacks to actually get to being used for Reputation, but deciding that spending the additional 2 mana here was worth not actually floating a mana on that turn. Just going to go for the Ruined Runner and start to set up to continue to get very aggressive in the following turns. But Ruined Runner cannot deal with this board whatsoever on defense, so What Am I should be able to just push 8 damage.
Yep. Yeah, no, not even a reasonable block to be had here. The attack looks a lot better because of the multiple cards in Oscillate's hand. What am I deciding?
I mean, some treasure feels good because you have Boom Baboon in hand.
Yeah. You're going to have the ability to set it up too. Treasure Seeker is fine, and I could see an argument for Treasure Seeker as it really sets up, you know, the next attack token to be very wide and have a lot of power potentially, but I mean, so does the Sum Treasure actually.
All right, Treasure Seeker from Oscillate, and just go alongside a Ruin Runner. Just start to get a lot of damage down with the double Ruin Runner.
Yeah, but now the double Rune Runner feels a lot worse. As you know, you can block and you're fine, right? I mean, yes, you're taking damage. You're taking 8 damage, which is, you know, not where you want to be, but I mean, you're trading up. You're trading up twice against 2 premium cards in Oscillate's deck, and you know, you've got you've got board control. You've got a lot of options here. And really the only things you're super scared about, you know, in terms of going over the top are in fact the Ruin Runners. So a lot of that scare is gone now.
Yeah, a lot is gone. It would have to mean Oscillate would need to find a way to go very wide, and what am I is able to kind of keep up with that, trying to continue to go wide themselves. And I mean, we see Oscillate does still have this Merciless Hunter to try and set up some better trades, seeing as how a lot of the toughness of What Am I's units are quite low. So you can, go for Merciless Hunter, set up the Treasure Seeker to actually trade into Echo. You can find decent trades. Bloody Business has actually been turned off because Oscillate does not have anything to use it with other than the Sandstone Charger, but that's with Ephemeral, and it is a strike. So it's not very good with that Sandstone Charger.
Yeah, that was another reason that I really am I'm suspect of the of playing that second Ruin Runner and attacking there. I mean, you're really throwing away so much value there at the, I mean, you got to push 8 damage, sure, but 8 damage worth the world, Casa?
Well, I mean, certainly not. I mean, at this point, Oscillate is very far behind. The Whirling Death is going to be able to hold on for at least one more turn. And maybe you can look to stabilize if you find his Sivir, because then you actually turn on the Bloody Business as well. It's still very tough in this spot, because it comes down to like, okay, I've got Sivir and Merciless Hunter, and then that's going to turn into a Bloody Business on my next turn, and then I have to continue to block, and I'm down to 2 HP. So it's going to be really tough to just dodge P and Z spells the entire time when Time Trick is a spell that exists in One of I's deck.
Yes. Not to mention Zillion putting in, essentially half my life total. And there it is. I feel like we always see What Am I on the opposing side of this, like stabilizes a little bit and then opponent just top decks lethal, but we finally get to see What Am I do it for once.
Yep, there it is. Yeah, because What Am I is generally not the person playing the decks that have the top deck lethal, but we got him last week. Wasn't he playing another aggro deck we didn't expect? I'll have to go back and look, but this week
he was playing he was playing Targon. He played what did he play? He played Targon something. He played Star Shaping something. I don't remember the other deck.
Yeah, I mean, yes, of course there was a Targon. What am I? But no. I mean, I guess he doesn't have one
Maximum
this
Star
week.
Shapings.
Doesn't have one this week, but What Am I still able to find the win? Obviously, this isn't really an aggro deck, but it does have 6 spells that are burn in it that he can predict and put on top of the deck when he needs to actually find that burn. So What Am I finds the victory in that game and ties it up. Gonna have to take one more against the Sivir list, and the deck to do it is gonna be Shen Jarvan. We talked about it a lot earlier. Having Scattered Pod added in, we saw it in action. The deck looked pretty good, being able to pull Golden Aegis is the only slow spell. There are quite a few fast and burst spells, but yeah, in this version as well, there's Golden Aegis. But this version is running Greenglade Lookout and Young Witch, which are not cards I have seen in this deck very often.
Attack the high ground. I recalled what deck What Am I ran last week as his other deck. I believe it was Overwhelm, because there was a Battle Fury in it, and that was yes. I remember saying it was OG What Am I with the Battle Fury.
Yes, that is certainly OG What Am I. The person who really carried Endure as a competitive deck for a very long time.
Yeah, really caught it at its peak and then continued it on when no one else had the courage to.
He was the one who endured, actually.
It's true.
The entire time.
Yeah, the they from They Who Endure is in fact What Am I. There it is.
The Lookout. Even if it dies, it doesn't really matter. Either your pod or your Jarvan is getting reduced.
I wonder if... Okay, it's going to be... I was wondering if there's tiebreakers or whatnot like there is for power, but it looks like at the very least it's not hard power that is any sort of tiebreaker there.
Yeah, what am I going to play? The Jason Florent protege?
Who does not know the name Florent?
Just be able to get some decent trades down. Of course, the Shaped Stone could allow this to trade evenly for Oscillate, but What Am I would probably be happy in that instance, seeing as how his hand is entirely Laurent Proteges. And actually, that Young Witch with these proteges is very good. It's actually quite strong to make it 3 attack, but also get the quick attack. It's actually going to line up extremely well into Sivir and LeBlanc.
Yeah, I think What Am I is, although his camera is not showing it, I would think he's overjoyed to take that 2-for-1 there. Especially considering how poorly, in general, these proteges line up with most of what Oscillate is doing. I mean, every unit that Oscillate has in play or in hand right now, just protege is embarrassing against.
So, I mean, deciding against any attack, worried about barriers with the extra mana being conserved, and now Young Witch gets to come down, and that's a massive threat onto the Sivir. It might even force the Bloody Business to just have to come out. The crazy thing is if Bloody Business is even used onto the Protege, not only do you have to worry about just like any combat trick with 5 mana up for What Am I, we know that What Am I just has another Protege. And would be able to just slam that and still clear the Sivir. So this is looking really, really doomed. And wow, What Am I even going to be able to just grant the barrier? Or give the barrier, I should say, because grant is an actual word in this game that means something, and this is not that. So
I think you could technically grant barrier, because I think barrier's ability just natively only works for 1 turn. But
sure, yeah.
I don't think
you are right.
It would be confusing. It would be confusing if nothing else.
Now the only way save the Sivir would be to Bloody Business the Young Witch prior to combat.
That's would be a bold move, but also still wouldn't save it because we see Sharp Sight, which I think Oscillate played around Sharp Sight last turn, so theoretically they should play around it at least to the extent that they can now, or at least playing with that Sharp Sight in mind.
Yeah, but at this point, right, I guess forcing the Sharp Sight is theoretically better than just having your Sivir die to the attack in from the Young Witch.
Yep, I agree.
This does feel better, albeit it doesn't feel good. And now there is still the develop of either LeBlanc or Merciless Hunter. But either way, no matter how you look at it, Oscillate is behind. What Am I? Definitely in a good position with this board state and having the Pod and the Jarvan as the next 2 plays.
I wonder, granted, this is, fully knowing that Caster Vision wasn't on. I wonder if it was just better to barrier the Young Witch, even from just like trying to look at it objectively through What Am I's eyes. I mean, yes, you would. Well, you're not even technically like saving health on the. You're not even really saving health on the Protege because it would have quick attacks. I don't know. With Caster Vision, it seems very clear to have put the the barrier on the Young Witch, but either way, we still get there.
Question becomes now for What Am I? Do you want the Golden Aegis or do you want literally anything else? Because the Aegis you can decide. The rest is just going to be a little bit of randomness. You'll know, your pool of cards that you can select from. Right. But only the slow spells are the ones that have nothing else in there. But still, a Concerted Strike is a great pickup. Going to be able to help deal with any of this. It's probably not the best card that What Am I can get, but maybe it is the best of the 5 mana cards. I'm curious if Single Combat was actually the card that he wanted, considering that the Merciless Hunters were giving or granting vulnerable. So being able to use a Single Combat to at least decide the trades you were getting might have been nice there, and you would have had mana to actually play it.
Yeah, I think on this turn specifically, obviously Single Combat was better, but now, I mean, going into this turn, you're relatively unscathed. Now you've got a Concerted Strike, and that card is almost always a blowout in this matchup.
Yeah. Now you've got the Jarvan to be able to come through on the attack. Just going to send in the Pod. Jarvan comes down. Pull on to LeBlanc. Oscillate is just going to use LeBlanc's Sigil of Malice
Yep.
to just take out the barrier, take out the Jarvan, and now Oscillate could rally, but it just doesn't really do much, as the attack is not great. I mean, you can deal with this Laurent Protege without any concern if you do so, but Preservarium does make a bit more sense to just try and get that ticking down.
I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see What Am I pull LeBlanc with the Protege and then have Jarvan pull the 4-3. Because now the Protege is essentially going to be eaten for free, or at least for value here. And there's just now a Merciless Hunter in play that I don't think needed to be.
Yeah.
Like, basically doing that attack would mean that this Protege would be trading for the Merciless Hunter, whereas now it's actually even worse than getting pulled by the Merciless Hunter. It's going to get pulled by the Ruin Runner, which now is just guaranteed damage, and the Ruin Runner surviving the attack.
Yeah, I mean, and that's big for Oscillate, right? Ruin Runner was absolutely the best card that could have been drawn. It's really the biggest bomb in the deck outside of Sivir, if you want to argue that Sivir is a better bomb. But really, I mean, Ruin Runner is one of the main ways that you're supposed to win with this deck, and getting the ability to attack multiple times with this Ruin Runner is really the big win condition for Oscillate. Going to be able to get an extra draw, has a rally available. There's a lot going for Oscillate at this point, and What Am I is still a turn away from being enlightened and having elusive on the pod, so it's not going to be going over. At least What Am I should be able to get the challenge down onto the Ruin Runner before it gets another attack.
Yeah, I'm really wondering why that attack didn't happen still. But regardless, attack's coming through now, and now we might be seeing the Shapestone come in and offer up or at least present a trade on the pod here.
Could also Shapestone to keep the Ruin Runner alive.
Sure.
I wonder if this will prompt a single combat plus concerted to just deal with the Ruin Runner. But I guess What Am I probably wants to conserve that for the second runner, since this one will be dying. But Rally coming alongside that is going to give this Ruin Runner so much attack. And guess what? Exhaust can keep the Ruin Runner alive even further. So it is probably going to force What Am I to actually use both of these spells.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Nope.
Oh,
Need to do it the other way.
He got it. He figured it out.
Yep. Does yeah, I was gonna say there shouldn't be a card drawn here, so I think it's I mean, this actually, yeah, this is I think a mistake. I think What Am I needed to not target the River Shaper, needed to target the Protege, because if there was another
there's 0 cards in Oscillate's hand.
Oh, there's 0 cards in here.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, in theory, right? In theory,
it would have been.
You're correct.
Bloody Business would have been a blowout. But there's
0 cards
in here.
So.
I don't. I've been playing too much of the combo deck, so I don't pay attention to what's in my opponent's hand because it's irrelevant. I'm taking my game actions.
You're playing solitaire. Yeah.
I'm playing Hearthstone, and my opponent just has to sit around and wait for me to kill them. All right, now pod is unlocked here. And this is kind of desperation attack. There's really not much else. You can see a chump and a value block. We could see a value block and a take 4.
Yeah, I mean, there's the ability to just heal as well with the barrier, but I guess you can just kind of hold it for a potential like stopping of a bloody business later on.
Yeah.
Really, the HP doesn't matter too much. There's not really any over the top, and the trade was good, right, for the pod. I mean, 5/6 body, man. I mean, this card is very, very good.
I mean, it's another card that, as we talked about last week, asymptotically approaching the power level of Bull Elnuk. Not quite there. If it was a 5, right? Well, now that one is because it got its cost reduced. It's a 5 mana 5/6. But no, you can never pass the point of Bull Elnuck. That's when we know power creep has happened. I just imagine that even though Riot's been working for home for the past year, that there still is a poster of Bull Elnuck that the dev team passes every day and like taps on the poster just to remind them never to go past Bull Elnuck power level.
Yeah. All right, but the trade's coming through. What am I is getting a very good position on the board. That Sandstone Charger wouldn't even really be a problem, even if What Am I can't block it, and Binks the Aegis. That's just gonna be the game. What Am I gonna be able to rally? There it is. What Am I moving on through the losers bracket? Finds the Golden Aegis, gets to play it on the pod, and Scattered Pod really MVP of this game, right? Absolutely. Just getting so much damage in, being able to draw that extra card, having the 5/6 body to be able to block the 5/5 that was of the same mana cost that was played later in the game. So
yep,
just doing so much work in this matchup that had both of the decks going kind of late into the game, going to top decks. And once again, we see Scattered Pod being just a massive swing for the player that does have it in these kind of mid-range matchups with Shen Jarvan. I'm really loving this addition to the deck. It feels like consistently it just is performing. I would say, I want to say it performs better than Brightsteel Formation, because obviously like Formation, which is what it replaces, by the way, is like one of the things it replaces. That's why I'm comparing them, even though they're not very similar cards. Because Formation would come down on, you know, turn 9 or turn 10, and a lot of times it would win the game, right? Yeah, when it comes down against mid-range decks.
Sometimes.
But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just gets removed, and it's a big mana bomb, or you never get to it, right? But with Pod, you get to play it on 6, and it immediately impacts the game by giving you a spell that you can then use to impact the board even more. It can win in the late game because it just is this big elusive body. It just does so much good, and I'm really loving this as an addition.
Yeah, I mean, to quote Twitter, I mean, it's strictly better than Brightsteel Formation, right?
Strictly better. You see it all over Twitter. It's strictly better. Yeah.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, if you've ever had if you ever top decked a Brightsteel Formation and your opponent played a Vile Feast and just blocked, you know that you'd rather have a 5/5 elusive than a 9/9 barrier giver. That's fine, and it certainly could be, and maybe you can lean the deck more into that. I mean, What Am I even playing the Greenglade Caretakers? No, so
he's not playing around barriers very much.
Yeah, shifting away from that and more into the value generation. The Greenglade Lookout, the Young Witch, the 3 Proteges has been kind of standard, but not entirely. But I like this build a lot, and I love the addition of Pod.
Hey, and it's working out for What Am I. He's advancing to the losers final. He's a chance to return once again if he can just find one more victory. So we are going to take a short break, but when we return, What Am I versus Ferreira in the losers bracket final. See who will join us next week. But don't go anywhere. More Final Legends when we return.
gold. Following the waves of your gold. But I don't wanna wait to hold you.
Everybody find somebody. Everybody find somebody.
Following the waves of your gold. But I don't wanna wait to hold you.
Everybody find somebody.
I can take your pain away. I can take it. I can take it. I can take your pain away from you. I can take your pain away. I can take it. I can take it. I can take your pain away.
Welcome back to Giant Slayer's Fight Night Legends presented by Wisdom. We just have a few more matches to go, Blev. We got the losers final, What Am I versus Ferreira. Gonna see who will be going up against Tenorix in the grand finals, but What Am I, Ferreira, What Am I has kind of got maybe the spicier lineup coming through. We'll have to see if Ferreira can still hold their ground with kind of the maybe two of the pillars of the meta right now. I would say, like, arguably it's very early on to tell, but Viego Nasus or some kind of Slay deck, right, alongside Zoe Lee Sin, or some kind of Lee Sin deck, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be kind of What Am I is up, see if they're up to the task to take down these two lists with their Zillion Echo and Shen Jarvan, which I actually do think that Shen Jarvan will become a pretty big pillar because it is just such a strong list, and I think it was made better with the addition of Pod.
Yeah, it certainly was. The pod was actually not something that was on my radar or that deck, and I'm super pumped to see it in. Not only, you know, just all the just general value that it brings, and the fact that I think it's a more consistent and cheaper late game finisher than something like Bright Steel Formation, but also it can guaranteed tutor for a rally, which is insane. And something that the deck certainly would love, because it doesn't really want to run 3 rally spells, but it does want to be able to draw one on a specific turn, especially if that turn also includes them having a 5/5 elusive. So yeah, really ties that together. I also agree with you on the Zoe Lee Sin. I mean, it's a deck that, looking at it, it has gotten no changes from the new sets, with the exception of the buffs to both Will of Ionia and Twin Disciplines, which are both very relevant buffs. It's now, I think the common builds are now all running 3 Gifts from Beyond with only Eye of the Dragon as the target. Rip Goat enthusiasts, and rip Hamster enthusiasts, and Sparklefly enthusiasts, because they weren't really not seeing those versions of the build anymore, but it certainly is strong. The one that I may contest here is the Viego Nasus. It feels very much like, you know, we just kind of took out the Thresh and put in Viego, and I don't know that that's a 1-to-1 improvement, unlike The
Twitter. I mean, Twitter says strictly better.
Well,
Lev. I don't-
Twitter says strictly better, but they're wrong there. They're right when they say that Zed is worse than, but they're wrong here, I think.
Oh god. But no, I don't believe that this Viego list is probably going to end up being his best. Like I was mentioning earlier, Alan hit rank 1 on EU with a Viego list that was mono Viego, running more control tools. I was very interested about that version as well. As you mentioned, this does feel like you took out Thresh, you slapped in Viego. It's still a very strong deck because it's like Slay. It's interesting to think whether or not this Viego version is stronger or not. I mean, Ferreira is able to take this to the loser bracket final, so it's doing well at least today. We'll see how this evolves because Viego is still very new. So is Ashkan or Action. Sorry, he's still very new. Yeah, Action. Yeah, it help remind me, Blev. Yeah, I need a reminder. So I'm interested to see how those champions evolve because they both feel very strong.
Yeah, I mean, Action, I think, really is. I said it before, but it is probably my favorite card that has been made in Legends of Runeterra, because I was talking about this in the pre-show. I've played it in a hyper aggro deck. I've played it in a combo deck. I've played it in like a mid range or control deck. I've played it in Lee Sin. He really can fit anywhere, which is amazing, and really, really strong. So I like it, but you know, doesn't feel like horrifically oppressive like old Aphelios did. Now, granted, we might just be waiting for the right build to start feeling oppressive, but the card itself and what it does not feel oppressive in the same way that old Aphelios did, where it's like, I can't play units because they're all dead.
Yeah. I mean, it really is the difference maker, I guess, between the two. And
Yeah.
wow, Ferreira is at the point where we've seen, we saw What Am I do this a lot last week, actually, get multiple Eye of the Dragons down, multiple Dragonlings. And we look at this hand from What Am I, and it's very sad. It's not really doing anything. Yep. That's right. What Am I? I'm with you. That does not feel good to see, but, you know, Sharp Sight at least allows you to contest the Eye of the Dragon, and we'll see if Ferreira was playing a little bit too loose with that attack in. Kind of feels like that was a bit of a interesting attack, because now What Am I could even greet for this. Doesn't keep up that much mana, but what are the answers? It's like Hush.
Hush.
Twin Disciplines?
Twin Disciplines would save.
Nopify. Okay.
Nopify.
I mean, but that's okay.
Short and sweet.
For What Am I? I mean, yes, there's nothing else in his deck to Nopify, but it's kind of just how it's going to happen, right? Your single combat will trade with a Nopify at some point. Not the worst time in the game for it to happen. You get the Screeching Dragon down. Ferreira had a pretty big lead. I don't think that lead exists so heavily anymore, and the Screeching Dragon is arguably the best draw What Am I actually had for turn 5.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think it is, right? It's the only 5-drop in the deck, and it's one of the best units in the deck. So, yeah, picking up Screeching Dragon was phenomenal. If he can grab Scattered Pod or Jarvan on the next turn, well, maybe not Jarvan. You kind of want him on attacking turns, but finding Scattered Pod would be maybe the next perfect draw. Actually, he has one in hand, so he doesn't even need to find it.
I was going to say, I think he already found it.
he found it, man. He found it. Look at him. Look at him go.
Well, and Screeching Dragon also does not die, at least, you know, to a regular Lee Sin. You know, if there's just a random smattering of spells played, Screeching Dragon not going to die to the Lee Sin. Also, Ferreira really can't. I don't think Ferreira can really afford to play a whole ton of spells right now and send Lee Sin in. I mean, theoretically, Lee Sin can't even pull the. Well, now it can. Couldn't even pull the 2/1 here and be super safe because of, you know, pump spells for What Am I? I mean, you have to be putting What Am I on a number of spells because they just didn't play anything in the early turns. So, you can reasonably put What Am I on like 2 to 3.
I would say
two
the
plus spells.
number that you'd put him on is probably like minimum 3, considering this list,
Yeah.
right? Because you take a look at it, it's fairly low on spells. It's fairly unit heavy.
Yeah.
It's 21 followers, 6 champions, so 27 units, 13 spells. Which I don't think is generally the standard for even these like Shen J4 decks. They're generally running quite a few more spells. So the fact that, especially with so many of these units being low to the ground, Tracker, Protector, Greenglade, Lookout, Young Witch, Protege, River Shaper, there wasn't anything played on 3, right? You have to be thinking that at least, 3 of these are spells.
Yeah, at the very least. And you know that there's an additional spell, an additional fast spell, which means it's either a... is it just Concerted Strike and single combat?
Yes. Yeah, just for the fast spells, it's only single combat and concerted.
Yeah. So you know there's at minimum one of those
Ooh.
in hand.
I actually really like this Aegis. I like
Yep.
just putting the threat onto the Lee.
Yes. It's a
To
pretty
make
safe.
something happen, and then
Yep.
you have concerted. This is actually,
Exactly.
I think this is just a dead Lee.
It is, I mean, it is likely a deadly. And What Am I is putting forth a deadly attack. Huh?
Mhm, yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
Because it's going to kill the Lee, and it's a...
Wow,
chat,
good-
DM me if
good
you
job,
don't get it.
Blev.
I'll explain
Good job, Blev. Wow. Good job.
it. Chat, you can DM me if you don't get the joke. I'll explain it to you. Here we go. Gifts. Not going to do anything in combat, but will be the first spell for Lee Sin.
Okay, Cascade.
Okay. Pill Cascade.
Still
now-
doesn't save him. Because
No.
concerted will...
You could Will of Ionia the Lee to save it, but that is a huge mana investment.
Well, you could will one of the 2 targets and it would still...
oh, true.
save
Oh,
them.
and Deny too.
Deny works. Yeah, deny works. So we might even, we're just going to see What Am I not go for it. He does get... Well, actually, no, he rallied this turn. He doesn't have the token. Okay, so Kick might come out from Lee. Very close to leveling up. 11 mana to play with. Double Concerted available, though. That is
Yeah.
that is certainly a way to deal with the Lee Sin.
Potentially, for sure. It's gonna potentially be tough because, again, especially with the... Oh, yeah, what am I just going for it now? I like this because now it's going to be an additional 2 spells to give the Lee barrier. And then it will be... and then there will need to be even more spells to... Or at least another spell to stop the second one.
Yeah, deny is just best answer. Bastion, also. Very strong answer.
That also works because we still have Deny.
It almost feels like you have to commit, but I don't know how you feel about that, Blev. Because maybe you can find another opportunity to get the concerted, but it's 4 mana left. I mean, there are...
This
4 mana is
will
a
be-
scary amount of mana, right? Like, that is deny.
We'll be on
That is...
Oh, yeah. I mean, Deny just wins the game.
Yeah.
Exactly, too. So, I mean, I think you kind of have to...
That's probably deny.
Deny or
Will.
Will of Ionia does it, yeah. Both of these are lethal, yeah. It's just going to be enough.
7 attack. There it is. Wow. Lee Sin.
Don't think there's... I'm trying to think if there was a way to sequence this better, but I don't know that there is.
No, I honestly kind of like how What Am I played this. I just think that Ferreira had the protection that he needed and
Right.
played it very patiently and well, that there wasn't a great opening for What Am I to get in, and because of that, Ferreira is able to find it. There's only thought that comes to mind is was committing on last turn better, or would it
Right.
had the same result? I think it might have had the same result, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Either way,
tough.
that's gonna be the game.
Yep, Ferreira taken down game number 1 in the losers finals. But What Am I still has the shot win 2 in a row, make it back to the grand finals once again. But Ferreira just needs to win one more. Obviously, it goes without saying that you'd like to be up 1 game, but it certainly feels good having that that first game buffer and that that confidence, that that momentum going into game number 2.
Yeah, and it comes down to Viego Nasus once again. I believe this is kind of what we saw in the winners final as well. Was actually Ferreira take the win with Lee Sin, but then actually fall twice with Viego Nasus. So what am I is gonna have to try and do the same as Tenorix, and once again his mulligan's looking a little shaky, hitting a bunch of spells, not finding the units. Does have Shen for at least turn 4, but no 1-drop, and you can see it. I mean, what am I is getting stressed? He's pressed about it. 2 games in a row where this deck where he's only running 13 spells, and he's just getting a fistful of them.
Yeah, Dunekeeper coming out. I'm gonna push some early damage, but that actually might bode well.
Oh my god.
Well, that doesn't.
He's got to find a 3-drop at the very least, right? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's pretty terrible, though, of his thing. It's
sure
a
is.
one of...
It might bode well that Ferreira is going super aggressive, as with the double Spirits Refuge, What Am I actually has pretty good outs to, like, if Ferreira feels that they need to, like, overextend and, like, go super fast and just do a bunch of damage. Like, What Am I can actually recoup a lot of that, and depending on what the rest of Ferreira's hand is, What Am I might be able to just stabilize from that.
Okay, well, Laurent Protege would have liked on the last turn, but it's still just as good on this one. Unfortunate part is that you can't develop Shen to assist it, but you do have the Young Witch, which is kind of does the same thing. The difference
Baby
is,
Shen.
of course, you're not getting progress towards your Shen.
True. But you do get Baby Shen, which is nice. I guess I don't know if I like this pull. I don't know that that's reasonably getting that much bigger. Versus I say that it immediately gets bigger.
I think you stop this, right? It feels...
I think you definitely do.
Yeah, you just can't let the Viego or the Nasus hit the hand. It gives a free card as well, right? So the problem is like this can be glimpsed. Or, wow, Blackspeared, but Sharp Sight is there. Okay.
Yep.
This is a winning exchange for What Am I? For sure.
Yeah.
And then you got the Shen, but you gotta hit like your River Shapers or your Pod the next few turns as well to just try and continue the momentum and make sure you continue to have just this card advantage that you can slowly gain.
I mean, I don't know that What Am I necessarily needs to hit anything right now. I mean, well, now he's technically going to be on parity with cards, but like all of these attacks are going to be What Am I eating units and doing damage. Now the River Shaper is going to be drawing extra cards.
Yeah.
Any sort of trade or spell can be stopped by a or damage based spell that is can be stopped by a Spirit's Refuge. Life can come back, but What Am I is actually at a reasonable life total anyway.
Yeah, he is. 15's great.
This is really not bad for What Am I here.
This position is really good. I'm with you. I think this is a really solid position for What Am I. Young Witch actually helps out a lot here because you can actually buff the River Shaper with the protection from Shen and then still get these challenges to be very strong, clear away some of the stronger units. Shen will probably have to take a little bit of damage here, but he won't die because you have the Spirit's Refuge, so you can for sure protect. And I think Shen can wear a little bit of damage. I think that's all right in order to make sure this River Shaper gets a free card and continues to get an additional attack.
Yeah, Shen is good, but is honestly not like super needed right now. I don't think it that's pretty good. What am I not seeing the value in using it there? Makes sense. And there's a Jarvan. Okay. And we do actually have enough to go Golden Aegis into attack and put a Jarvan. Looks like that's what am I is considering here. I mean, this attack already looks good.
Okay, this
Okay,
board is
Spirit.
getting kind of scary for Ferreira, but What Am I has like all the combat tricks really needed, and you know the rally was fantastic here
Mm-hmm.
to be able to just continue to protect this. You know, we got the barrier on the Shen. It's gonna be a Jarvan coming out as well. Everything is protected.
Yeah, I guess technically, I don't know. I'm just not really afraid of these Bakai Reapers, but I guess maybe that's my my hubris saying, it's not going to get any bigger than a 4-2. It's only a 2-2. What am I playing? A little more conservative. How about another Golden Aegis? How about What Am I gets to go into his attack token,
Cataclysm
open
and
attack,
Aegis.
and Aegis. And how about a concerted strike and two okay. All right.
Well, the pod is just like it's excessive, right? It's like we can't even play the pod because we have so many other good things to do.
right.
I guess there's argument that you can play the pod because you could Aegis on the next turn. It doesn't really matter, but I just think that the attack's great. You just go Spirit's Refuge. Everything's getting cleared away. And you just Aegis and end the game.
Right. Yeah, even if Ferreira, I mean, what's their scariest thing? Like a Nasus?
Nothing. The Hydrovine, sure.
Snapvine is the scariest thing, but it's just doesn't
It's
matter.
not scary enough, yeah.
Right. I guess you can.
Oh, is he trying to play around right? Yeah, he's trying. There's 2 rights of negation in this deck. So what am I thinking about right of negation and like, okay, is it worth going for Aegis here and eating right? It probably is fine. I think it's okay. And you can just Cataclysm next turn to try and deal with any big threat with your Jarvan.
Mhm.
Like, you're really... I mean, this game is just done. What Am I should be able to win with this hand. He's got 20 HP. Even if this gets there's no problem.
I think the correct verbiage there is wronged. If your spell gets right of negation, it's wronged. Anyways, back to the match here. The encroaching mists are growing, and again, just showing so much value, being able to block. This Hydrovine is also just such a cool card. These like mini like champion expansions, they really pack a punch in the cards they put in them.
They do. There's super cool cards. Of course, Jarvan is just going to be able to deal with that pretty easily with the Cataclysm. And the board is still strong enough that What Am I should be able to defend themselves very easily. Even if a Nasus came down, it shouldn't be a concern. Can even barrier to protect Jarvan, but there also is just another Jarvan in hand. So it's kind of okay for What Am I to just sack this one.
Yeah, I wonder what are the scare cards? It's literally like a randomly 20 power Nasus into Atrocity is like the only thing you're really scared of. And scared is probably a strong word.
Yeah,
But
you probably just take the 5, let that go through.
Yeah, you could take the 5, or you could even chump with a 2/1. You could just cash out your card if you really wanted to, but yeah, the 5 seems fine. Now you get your blocks. Man, this Florent protege has just... I mean, how many units has it killed this game?
It's been alive since turn 4. It's turn 10 right now. It's just
Like, I
been
feel
out
like-
here chugging along.
I feel like he should level up. Like the Florent protege should turn into a champion after that game because boy, he got enough experience killing creeps that whole game.
Well, he's in chat, at least that's the very least. He get enough kills in game, turn into a real boy, and end up in chat. So there we go.
Real boy. that was my Jason Florent impression. It's not very good, but that's what it was.
Poor Jason,
Love you,
man.
Jay.
Poor Jason. How are you gonna do it to him? Anyways, we got what am I going in to game number 3, and we'll see if Viego gets reverse swept once again. Barrera has been playing really well on the Lee, and the Viego has just not been coming through in these last couple of rounds. The early rounds he was able to find the wins, but up against Tenorix, and now what am I has run into some issue. But can Zillion Echo close the door on Ferreira's chances here today?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen what am I really pile up this deck super well. I mean, it's a very decision tree heavy deck. Like just looking at this hand, there's like a 15 different lines that what am I could take, and it's turn 2. Setting up, okay, we're gonna go boom boom boom, and then maybe we're gonna play Dredger next turn. Are we gonna block here? I would imagine we're probably gonna block the 1/2. But you can see there's so much. I mean, when do you set up Zillions? When are you using this 5/2? Are you using it to attack, to block? Where's this Mystic Shock? Like, there's so many different thoughts that had to go through your mind. And what am I obviously playing this with just a level of precision that just shows just a knowledge of the deck that I think you really need in order to optimally play it.
Yeah, I mean, what am I can definitely get a bit aggressive with the hand that he has with this Charger, Merciless Hunter. He's got a Mystic Shot, and also he had the Boomaboon into Sump Dredger early start. Of course, Warren Soldier is just so good at stopping any aggression.
Yeah,
that we just see it come down and completely stonewall any attack that What Am I was brewing. But will be more developments. Zillion going to kick off. We'll see what predict end up seeing. If he finds a time bomb straight away, Fallen Feline potential, but doesn't want any of those cards. Just passes it right away.
Yeah, that line there, I mean, with just no hesitation whatsoever. What Am I knows exactly what he's looking for here, and that's scary. When if you're one of my opponents, that's scary when your opponent knows exactly what they're looking for right now. I mean, granted, that means they either Snap found it or Snap didn't find it, but regardless, that's still scary.
Yeah, What Am I could have another look if he wants. He has the Aspiring Chronomancer to try and put something else on top of the deck, but also just trying to hold up Mystic Shot mana potentially, or even just looking to bank mana for these next couple turns, because he has quite a few spells that he may want to play, so not really a problem with just passing with 2 additional mana. Gonna go for the Chronomancer first. Just look for what to put on top of the deck. Might not like any of these. Time Trick's a possibility to just get more predicts, but really, that's kind of just cycling and spending mana without actually getting any new card that you're wanting to play. So you just see it passed up, and What Am I gonna go ahead and grant vulnerable to the Merciless Hunter on the other side. No good trades for that. It would just have to be Merciless Hunter for Merciless Hunter if the attack happens, or you could use the Sandstone Charger from Walking Sands to make this trade.
Yeah. Turn Walking Sands into a kill spell. Oh no, sorry, it's Waking Sands, not Christopher Walken Sands. Sorry, chat. I always confuse those two things. But gonna be able to essentially turn it into a Black Spear here and kill the Merciless Hunter.
It's just one more series, Cass. It's just one more series. It's got one more series, and then you're good.
Okay. Then all you'll need to do is worry about. It's okay. It'll all be over. Don't worry.
All right, but he does get the trade that he wants with the Waking Sands, and can continue to try and build up on this board. We see good ways to continue to draw through with the time tricks to pick exactly what One of My wants to find.
I mean, I'm at this point. I'm thinking it's probably Echo, maybe.
Mystic
I
Shot,
mean,
I was thinking would actually be okay,
there's
but
Echo, and
mine's
I saw
Echo.
what looked like a nod of approval.
Yeah, it seems like Echo absolutely was what one of I wanted to find, and that's why like because I thought Mystic Shot was like, oh, it's okay, like an additional Mystic Shot in this hand considering the board state seemed pretty reasonable. I was like, oh, that's a good selection, but what am I knows that he wanted exactly Echo, and so continues to just hold off until he finds it.
Could have been Echo. I guess it could have also just been the time bombs too. I suppose.
Right? Yeah. I guess the point is, it seems like one of my will never settle for good enough, and is always
Right.
just looking for the best possible card. Because I'll not predict, a Mystic Shot's not bad in this spot.
Right. Yeah, when your whole deck is predicting, why not? Besides, why shouldn't I have the perfect card? We could see a leveled up Echo here.
Yeah, just one more
Yeah.
attack in, you would get the time trick, or you can even just play the 3-drop.
Yep.
Would have to overwrite something.
True.
I'm gonna guess not necessarily. You could go for the attack first and then do it, but then you wouldn't be attacking with leveled Echo, which defeats a little bit of the purpose.
Yeah, and this is again another like potentially or seemingly minute decision that really, I mean, there's so many different lines of what I could take here. And I think at least some of them are reasonable, right? Like, do you overwrite, a 2/1 or a Flame Chompers potentially? It's gonna start putting the clock on at least a little bit.
I wonder if Suit Up is potentially just better than Time Bomb to get a better challenger. Looks like one of mine is deciding between Skip and Time Bomb. Wonder what card could be looking for.
I feel like at some point when you're skipping the predicts every time, you just need to put better cards in your deck, right? There was no card I wanted. I wanted cards in a different deck.
Maybe even just wants another Echo. Throw a parallel convergence in there. Get a little
Sure.
spicy. Drumming Swarm also maybe not terrible, but this Nasus is getting pretty big. It's gonna actually level unless there's a removal option. Could Chrono Shift the Echo on the block.
True. I don't think that prevents the level up, unfortunately.
I don't believe so, but it does make this Echo a pretty big threat.
9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, we're going to be at 13, so notably not 14 is quite nice, but this is just reduces the board down, which is nice, but Echo is Echo going to be able to take on a leveled up Nasus? I guess we'll see.
Chrono Break.
Alright.
Time Trick. Good, but yeah, Hexite Crystal is actually a pretty decent thing to pull if you can pull it for free.
Yeah.
Unless there's something else he's trying to hold out for. Because we can see him calculating.
Yeah, I think if you didn't want Hexite Crystal, if you like specifically want if you want a specific card, it, I guess technically is diluting the deck a little bit to put the Hexite Crystal, but the fact that you just get it for free in your hand it's just got to be worth it, I think. Okay.
Yeah, there's a chrono break. That's a way to win.
Yeah, that's the one that it revives everything and is that it revives everything and give in rallies?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
He's also got burn with time bomb.
Ugh,
But atrocity for 14. He can't burn fast enough.
Oh yeah, you can.
Wait, yeah, you can actually. Yeah, it's 7.
Okay. Prage, no
No
right
right.
of negation.
Rage no right. There's 2 in the deck. Ferreira runs 2, not just 1. We see a lot of 1-ofs. He's got the right.
Yeah.
Ferreira finds exact lethal.
Wow.
What am I? Almost makes it in there. Not able to find enough. Ferreira. Going to find the win. What am I going to fall in 3rd place?
Yeah. Unfortunate for what am I, but hey, a tale as old as time. Big Nasus atrocity with deny backup. So yikes. Either way, that is going to be Ferreira moving on in to the grand finals. Able to secure that game number 3. That was a super close match, though.
Incredibly close between these two, and Ferreira is going to get their rematch with Tenerex. Get another shot this time around, maybe hoping that Viego Nasus can find the win. Nasus having a little bit more success than Viego when found by Ferreira so far in the day today. Continuing to just be able to find the victories with the atrocity. Big Nasus, big atrocity. That's what you want to see out of these decks, and Ferreira able to find the victory. It's tough for one of my to almost make it. He almost was able to keep that Nasus down as well, keeping it at just 13 for so long, but it does kill the Flame Chompers, pushes it just over the edge.
Yeah.
So that it has enough damage to take him down. But we will have Ferreira versus Tenerex in the grand finals of this week's Fight Night Legends. In just a moment, we're going to go to a short break. Fight Night Legends continues just after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Giant Slayer's Fight Night Legends presented by Wisdom. I'm still Casanova, that's still Blevins. You know us, you've seen us before, it happens. But we've got one more matchup to end the night. It is going to be Tenerex versus Ferreira for the grand finals. But before we jump into that matchup, Blevins, why don't you go ahead, break down the format for the fine folks that might be joining us for the very first time.
Yes, same old format, same old grand finals, double elim bracket. The 8 players that we have handpicked for the best in the Americas region. Every single match is a best of 3, where players have brought 2 decks with no region overlap, so a little bit different than the traditional Riot Lock format from the seasonals, but in the end, the goal is the same: win with both of your decks. Now, that little black box at the bottom is particularly relevant here because of the grand finalists from the lower bracket wins. There will be a bracket reset, and we'll play an additional best of 3. So, if we end up with the lower bracket person winning, we will have an additional set, maximum Runeterra, but we could end it in one. And of course, this is the classic $50 Fight Night matchup.
Yeah, the money match here. Both have made it to next week's Fight Night, but now it's for the extra cash. Tenerex and Ferreira going up against each other here. We saw the match earlier. Tenerex was able to take down Ferreira after losing to Lee Sin. Did take out Viego Nasus twice in a row. Zed Timo and LeBlanc Ash are the decks that are available for Tenerex. We may see Kinku Wayfinder win a Fight Night. And interestingly enough, Blev, it's possible that this will be the first Fight Night win from a Kinku Wayfinder. I don't know this. There's been so many Fight Nights. I don't know this for a fact.
Yeah.
But I think Fight Night started after Wayfinder stopped being a meta card. I think it was after. I think we started doing Fight Nights after it was no longer a thing that was played. So maybe Croc is a better historian than I am, but I'm pretty sure, and we haven't actually seen it win a Fight Night.
You very well may be correct, which is weird to say because it's such a like a classic strategy to Runeterra. But yeah, I mean, you think about it, we were casting DORs when Bilgewater came out, right? And like that was even like, yeah, okay. Croc is saying Fight Night started in June. It was the Ash Nox meta. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's been, we've been doing Fight Night for over a year now, and even then, that means that's how long it's been since Wayfinder has been like a top tier deck. Is over a year, and it's back, and it's actually in a final. And we would say it's favored to win in theory, right? Because Tenerex has already beaten Ferreira once. It's coming from the winner's side of the bracket. On average, we normally see the winner's side
certainly
actually
favored.
end up taking the win. We've seen a couple times. I mean, a good amount of times at this point, a good chunk of times. Losers bracket player has come back and won, but it is still a very large majority of the time that the winner does come from the winner's side. But Ferreira is looking to turn that around once again today and take out Tenerex in this final. Get that additional $50 on that prize today. And we're going to be jumping straight on in. We've got a little bit of a fix here to try and get a better stream quality, since I know we were having a bit of a slideshow between these two earlier on. We've got one, so it should be a little bit more sorted out this time around.
Yeah, no need for students, Casanova and Blevins, to come in and present our final group project for this match. We should have a watchable stream. Yeah, there we go. And we're going to go from Ferreira's perspective. It's going to be Viego to kick things off. Not going to be going with the Lee Sin straight away. Maybe liking the matchups a little bit better from the Shadow Isles list. And Kai Reaper for one is pretty solid just to kick things off and start looking potentially for a Cursed Keeper off the top would be huge to go with that Ravenous Butcher on an attacking turn. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it would be quite nice, but instead just going to have to settle for the solo Reaper. It's really not looking all that threatening yet. Okay. Looks like Kai Reaper going to come in, though.
Does not find a turn 2 play to go with the Butcher, so I'm just going to be banking mana Does have some spells that are good to use with this, so it's not really an emergency yet, but this hand is not looking fantastic. Another Reaper is actually not really that good.
No.
It is a play. That is better than nothing, but not by
Marginally
a
better than
whole lot.
nothing.
Yeah, marginally better than nothing.
Tenric's not wanting to trade, though. Now we've doubled the damage output. Side of Ferreira going to come in for 2.
Wow, 2!
Yeah. I
Nice!
yeah, I can't imagine. The only delay there I could see is like maybe wanting to Culling Strike there.
Yeah,
but that
yeah,
feels bad.
you just leech, and I guess you just yeet this Black Spirit Ash, because that ends up being problematic. Ash Glory Seeker is not something you want to leave on the board.
No. Oh, it is not. And there's a troll chance. Okay, so I mean, you put up the ability there to kill the Ash, and now this at least will force out another spell to keep the Ash alive on attack.
Yeah, LeBlanc. Board Dunekeeper to just provide a little bit of buffer on the blocks. If an attack does come out, then you can actually use the Rav Butcher to still get value, but overall this Ephemeral is probably just going to dissipate, as the attack token may just be held onto by Tenrix, unless they've got a spell or they're willing to sacrifice Ash. Or just going to go for the they're going to go for the progress on LeBlanc. So your options are basically sack the Ephemeral this way, or take 5 and develop a Butcher.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I'm wondering if it's even just better to. I don't know. It's really tough. I think Tenrix could have easily presented a pass there and been fine. But I think it's of almost no consequence or difference either way, other than a little bit more progress here on the LeBlanc, which we've seen and we saw in an earlier match was actually quite relevant there.
All right, but gonna continue to try and get this Viego stacked up fast as possible. Getting a couple more slays. Let's have the attack token, but this looks like it might be a cull. However, Rite of Negation is available. Oh, Tenric's version is the one with the Reckoning, so that would have been scary as well, but also Rite of Negation. Still a card.
Yep, still a card, still works. It's just going to be now, do you want to go for it?
Yeah, I mean, the question really is like, do you feel you need to hold this Rite of Negation for Reckoning?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's less, the Rite of Negation, I guess, is less needed to protect Atrocity, which is nice. You really don't, I mean, the things that are stopping Atrocity are usually freeze, which can't be protected by Rite of Negation.
All right, so Rite is down. If there is a Reckoning, I believe it is pretty much just disaster for Ferreira. But LeBlanc is actually being put in the line of fire. This does kind of signify a troll chant.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Well, the Reckoning currently won't kill Viego unless you're also attacking with Ash and trading Ash. Viego will go back up next turn. Unless, well, yeah, Viego is definitely big enough to survive a Reckoning. Of course, if it's Freeze Reckoning, then, well, you know. And you guessed it right. There is the Troll Chant. So just getting some value blockage out of Ash. Going to trade off your Icevale Archer for the Bakai Reaper. And now the attack's coming in, and this is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, nothing to do about it, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, you could glimpse, but also you might just want to develop your Hydra.
Yeah, yeah, you don't need right now. You don't need more cards in hand, right? I mean, you can glimpse the glimpse the mists that's created next turn if you really want to.
Yeah, Ash is flash freeze, so instead of letting Ash die and just replaying it, decides to actually keep this one alive to spend one less mana. And wow, we actually are going to see the glimpse.
Okay.
So the Hydrovine will be played on the next turn. You
Sure.
could just see Casanova and Soldier instead to try and be mana efficient, but Ferreira is going to be running on fumes at least somewhat. Trying to get this HP low enough to finish with a Nasus and Atrocity.
Yeah, I mean, depending. I mean, I think we're at. I think the encroaching mists are like 2/2 right now. Will be a 3/3, I think, on the next generation of one. Entombing.
Wow, that is a big mana commitment to stop a glimpse. And Ferreira decides to go for the right.
Yeah, I don't hate the right. There's really not a like. It's the reckoning, right, that you really want to save it for, but also like, this is not reading like a reckoning, and it saves the
Ooh.
Viego.
That's why. That makes sense. That makes sense. That's why they expended so much. God, Blev, we'll get used to these characters. It takes a sec. First week, sometimes you don't
playing Viego in a week. Let's be honest.
But either way, I mean, that is a very heads up play on both sides, right? Tenrex recognizing that, hey, if this glimpse goes through, Viego lives. I don't want that to happen. And then Ferreira being like, yeah, my Viego lives if this goes through. It is worth using my final right to keep him alive.
Mm-hmm. No, that's, I mean, 100%, right? I mean, this was great on the side of Ferreira. And also, like, again, like, you can save the right for a reckoning, which right now, I mean, it essentially is a 1-for-1 for a Casanova Soldier. Great. Not amazing. Now, freeze reckoning, that's another thing, which, of course,
Riddle
as I
Steel
say
reckoning.
Ooh,
there it is.
Well, sometimes they have it, right?
Yeah, sometimes they just have it. I suppose the response to this is you just Cursed Keeper Glimpse. And
At least have a blocker.
and that's it. Well, do you? Is Ash just leveling on the attack?
Oh, right.
I mean, I don't think Ferreira could play this any different. I mean, this is really just all you can do, but
That's just the...
sometimes they just have it. Like, what am I had to deal? Ferreira had the right and the atrocity. Sometimes they have it.
Yeah.
Sometimes your opponent has it too. And unfortunately for Ferreira, I mean, that's going to make this hard to come back from. But he has actually a lot more cards in hand. Henrix is just left a 1 card. So unless it's like, I don't know, like Assessor Blev or something like off the top, then I think, Ferreira actually might be okay. He's going to be taking some amount of damage here, but he's not dead. Whispered Words. Okay, so then the Assessor gets played. And then you're, like, in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, Assessor... that would be pretty good.
I don't think Ferreira has that many slays. So I don't think this Nas is actually that strong. We'll see in a second. Of course, this is a spectate, so we're not going to see Ferreira check it. And it's on delay, so we can't actually ask for it to be checked.
Okay, this is still... Okay, freeze into Ash attack. That will mean no blockers. That's only 11.
Yeah, it's not lethal.
Oh, sorry, 12.
He's just gonna push the 12.
You get to hit skip block. Go from there.
And the Ash copy is gonna be available for the next attack token.
We're at
Nasus is 9/9, which is
9.
not bad. Ferreira has found enough slays on. Oh, okay. Well, there it is. Sigil
Okay.
Malice available. And that's gonna find the lethal 10x. Gonna be able to pick it up. Gets game 1, and now just gonna be left on Kinku Elusives.
Yeah, which we've well, we've really seen the full spectrum of Kinku Elusives this tournament, haven't we? We've seen it explode and have a really powerful opening, and we've also seen it kind of squirm a little bit. But
Yeah.
overall, definitely a strong one right now.
Yeah, I mean we've seen it miss Wayfinder and just look like an absolute travesty of a deck. We've also seen
Yes.
it get an early duo with multiple 1-drops in hand and just completely blow out the opponent. And we've seen kind of the middling hands of this deck as well, where it just kind of does a mix of both. Spectator bugging immediately. One of the
That's an interesting one.
That's all right. I haven't seen that one on Spectator yet, actually, but
I've been having a bug where I can't see the targeting. I can't see the targeting arrows
spells?
on anything.
yeah, I heard about that one.
Which is weird. But again, it doesn't matter because I'm playing action, and I don't care what my opponent does, and none of my spells target their stuff, so it is irrelevant.
There you go. Ferreira only on 3 drops, no 1 or 2. It's a little slow going into the elusives, where a lot of times you actually have to race them. So not having anything early as far as damage is putting Tenorix in a very good spot.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, we're actually... I didn't even notice this until now, but we're running sort of a more like meaty mid-game version of this traditional Slay build. No Vile Feasts, a card that would traditionally be quite good against the Green Glade Duo deck, but it's not here. So really, your only interaction is like Merciless Hunter after the fact and Black Spear, which you need to proc generally by I guess your own slays, but also from trades, which just aren't going to happen because you can't block.
Yeah, and I don't think many people were prepping to play against elusives. That's the snappiest Black Spear I'm never going to see in my life.
Oh, yeah.
Just trying to kill that Zed. No way you leave that on board. Shadowseer trying to get more mileage. Problem with this is it doesn't leave consistent damage on board. It's just you have to keep paying 2 mana, deal 3, which is still quite good. Double Blade Scout. No duo is a little bit upsetting for Tenorix. That would have been very good amount of damage to have that with the double Blade Scout, but this is going to push Ferreira to the halfway point, and Tenorix still has, 3 mana or 2 mana, deal 3 every turn available.
Yep, and you don't need to do a ton in order to, get within burn range, depending on what's in Tenorix's hand.
Okay, Merciless Hunter gets slammed. If there's a jeweled protector here, that's actually huge. It gives good defense against this board, and then it also is going to just buff up one of your elusives to pretty much just seal the deal with the amount of damage you've got.
Right.
I imagine if Jeweled Protector was in hand, though, it would have been a pretty quick play. I think it actually, when I'm looking at this deck, it feels like that would be one of the best cards to have in the spot. I think there's, removal would be fine too, but we'll see if the attack comes through and then removal is played. It could be something like a Get Excited. But also, if you have Get Excited at this point, you might just want it for burn.
Yeah, that's going upstairs. Yeah.
Because you've got your opponent to 10. There's not really any healing in this deck. In fact, I think there is none. Yep, 0 healing. And, you're going to be dealing 3 every turn. Yeah, Usari, okay, that's going to be another 4.
Yeah, 7. I mean, a Get Excited is threatening lethal right now. And it would have to be Atrocity onto the Usari to stop this. If there's a Get Excited.
Yeah, I mean, there might not even need to be get excited, even just like another elusive. And we've now tapped out of Atrocity. If there is the damage, it's just done.
Interesting.
There's the Teemo.
Okay, so we're at
There's 8. We're at Mystic
of
Shot
10.
is also
Yeah,
just going to end.
Yep, now Mystic Shot's enough. Twin Disciplines is also... Ferreira just throwing GG out. Tenorix.
I think Ferreira is just saying, hey, if you have it, you have it.
Right.
It's game.
Yeah.
And if you don't, I might be able to win on the crackback here with the Atrocity, with the attack in.
Yeah.
So I think what Ferreira is saying is this game is done.
Right.
And we're going to see who's going to win.
Yeah. Okay, the slow roll.
Tenorix deciding maybe only on 1 Mystic or 1 Get Excited. Worried about the right of negation.
Very true. Very an actual consideration right now, but looks like it's going to come
There's
out.
the
That's going to be
Mystic,
Mystic
and
Shot. That's it.
Tenorix wins Fight Night.
Wow.
With Usari
Batman himself.
in the main deck.
That's a card we've seen a couple of times. I don't know if we've seen it in Fight Night, but
Really?
it is it has made its rounds in that build before. It's not the most uncommon thing. It's not common by any means, but it certainly has been there. But there it is, Tenorix winning 2-0. That the last game relatively dominant, and Croc in chat reminding us that this Casa might be the very first Kinku elusive win we've seen on Fight Night, which is crazy to think because it's one of the oldest decks in the game.
Yeah, the fact that it predates Fight Night, which has been going on for over a year, is just like that's the craziness of this deck, and the fact that it comes back and barely has any changes. It's very few changes to what the old deck was. A lot of the times, the old deck when it ran the Teemo version, it would run Mystic Shot or Get Excited, not both. This version runs both, going for more burn. This version has the Silent Shadow Seer, but that was experimented with before. That's a very old card. Nothing is really new here. This is just a deck from beta that just came in and won Fight Night in 2021, in July of 2021.
Yes, it really is. I mean, there's some cards that are changing. I mean, Shadow Assassin has gone through a multiple iterations and has ended up at -0, -1. Jeweled Protector is actually better than it used to be. What other card? There's and Solitary Monk is worse.
No, Jeweled Protector was there were versions played after this buff. This buff that Jeweled Protector got.
That's true. It wasn't. That's true. It wasn't played. Yeah.
It was played. Bad. It was played in this version. Really, you're right. Shadow Assassin's the only one, and that's a nerf. And then Twin Disciplines, and there's the buff, and then Nopify and Retreat. Nopify and Retreat are new cards. Yeah. But it's mostly the same thing. As I think we're getting Tenorix in here. Tenorix, can you hear us? Okay, I guess we do not have him in here. Not yet. Soon enough, we will be getting him for an interview. I believe, at least, I think so as of now. And I do want to ask him about this for sure. I'm very excited to see.
Hey man, what's up?
There we go. We get.
You
have Tenorix. You can hear us as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations. First off, congrats on the victory here at Fight Night. I think this is your first Fight Night win, correct?
Yeah, correct.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Well, congratulations. I mean, just first things first. I want to just jump on into it. I mean, you just won with a deck from beta, with like 2 changes to it. So I mean, how does it feel to come in here and just win with something that's like so tried and true and an old deck? I think the first time we've seen Kinku Elusives actually win a Fight Night, but. What was your thought process in bringing it, and how does it feel to get the win?
So the thought process behind bringing it was like I was expecting a lot of mid-range decks and a lot of leasing decks, and both of those cannot deal really well with elusives, right? Because it's the first few weeks after a big patch, and nobody's running really elusive, so many elusive blockers. Like Viego decks don't run elusive blockers. Leasing decks, like they don't run elusive blockers. Some of them run the Shadow Assassin, but that's it. So yeah, I saw the rank 1 guy.
Sudden,
yes, he has like 800 points. So I I thought, why not practice this deck and see how it goes? And it felt really well.
Awesome. Yeah, I was hoping to see, obviously that this deck is one I've liked for a long time and have actually played earlier this season, but I was really hoping to see some more action decks, maybe with the combo. Was there any consideration to bringing one of those sort of wacky, like, infinite combo decks or anything with action, or are we just going to go with the tried and true?
So I tried the action leasing deck, the turbo level leasing deck, but like I like it, but I felt like it lacked some interaction because you are going all in for your combo win condition, but then you don't have the hashes, then you don't have the 6 eye of the dragons, and that felt really weird on the deck. So it just feels like if you fail the combo, you die, and that's it.
Yeah. I was never looking to play interaction in my action decks.
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, elusives are not very interactive for the other players. So
It's one-sided.
All right, well, congratulations, TenorX. I just, before we let you go, I just want to, see if you've got any shout-outs or anybody you'd like to call out to maybe see on a future fight night, maybe play against next week.
Yeah, so I want to give thanks to my prep team, is Mafia Esports Latin America. I practice with those guys like almost every day, and they make me the player that I am now. And I want to give a shout out as well to Matty24 Mayo. So I would like to see him in a future fight night if it's possible.
All right, awesome. We'll get Croc on that. We'll see him. He can get that invite out for us, and we'll go wrangle him, get him on a fight night. But thank you so much, TenorX, and congratulations on the victory. Yeah. We'll see you next week.
All right, thank you for inviting me to it. It was awesome, the tournament.
Always good to see you. Good luck in the next seasonal as well. Keep seeing you in the top cuts.
True.
Thanks, man.
All right, Blev. But I mean, that's been the fight night that we got all the way through. TenorX, a player who he might be world qualified, actually. I'll have to look that up. But he has been in the top cuts of, I think, 2 seasonals, and he is just consistently playing so well in tournament. Great to have him on fight night. He's very, very good. And, well, takes a victory with a deck that, yes, we could have expected to see because of Sudden. We have seen him kind of rocking the ladder with it. But it's still very weird to see a beta deck come in at this point in LOR and just kind of run the table. Well, it looked very good.
I mean, we see discard aggro all the time. Granted, it's very different than it was, or at least has a lot of additional
2 cards added in from beta. It's pretty crazy to see it. But
if TK Raka was in beta, it would still be the same exact deck.
You're right. It would. All right. Well, any final thoughts, Blev, before we close this one out?
All I'm saying now, if you are playing in Fight Night next week, and also if the action combo hasn't been nerfed or hotfixed or something, don't be a coward. We better see someone playing it. I want to see it. Let's see some.
That's been Fight Night. We'll see you all next week.
somebody. Everybody find somebody.
Following the waves of the echo, but I don't wanna wait to hold you.
Everybody find somebody.
I can take your pain